or how to do it?
I think the most important thing is for people everywhere in Africa to demand that their leadership is pushing in the direction of deploying renewables, of bringing them energy, which is not going to hurt them, but it's going to help them with sustainability at its core. I think that there's a great amount of job growth if this effort to spread the wealth of energy will reach all parts of Africa. There are many places where Africa has 40, 50% electricity penetration, but you get away from those centers of living, obviously, and this great absence of energy, of electricity. So I think there's a lot more the world can do to work with Africa regarding that. I think the leaders in Africa will be increasingly, as they are now, focused on these alternative types of energy which don't leave lasting negative impacts like emissions that heat the earth and create the other problems that come with the climate crisis. I find that African leadership is really tuned in. They're very, very focused on this particular choice, type of energy. And I think with good efforts, but we're not talking, by the way, about, major finance mechanisms and programs. We're talking about working at the basics of how you put together business deals that will actually deliver energy that will be not overly expensive and available to the people who want it.
Thank you for listening to The Interview. For more compelling conversations, search for The Interview wherever you get your BBC podcasts. You'll find episodes from one of Africa's youngest billionaires, Mohamed Douji, former Sudanese leader Aisha Musa, and Sierra Leone's First Lady Fatma Bio, plus many others. Until next time, it's bye for now.
From the BBC.
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio. You're on CBC. 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and on YouTube. We will see what Mother Nature is going to bring us today. We are dealing with a lot out there, obviously. Wow, if you're in Brandon, Souris, all in that area, I don't have to tell you. The pictures were coming in last night of that rain and the impact on the community and localized flooding in that area. Also, of course, to the north, people are out of some of their communities still due to fire. So Mother Nature's given us everything this spring and summer. Hang in there. We'll walk you through what is going on in some more detail throughout the program. May McKillopson directing the show today. Hi, May. May's also going to be covering the commute. There's Abby Adiemi in his usual spot. Abby's our senior tech and covers your forecasts. And there's Mr. Darren Marash, who's our YouTube producer. Say hello to him if you're watching this show stream live. All right, let's go to Heather Wells for the latest now on those stories and more. Good morning to you.
Good morning. And you're right, Western Manitoba is still being slammed by wicked weather. Last night, it was heavy rain, lots of it. In Boissevain, Environment Canada says 152 millimeters fell by 8 o'clock last evening. Ross McKellar was in a campground and says he has never seen such a big amount of rain in such a short period of time. Deloraine took on 129 millimeters. Minto had 113. So we'll hear more about that. As well, in Brandon, thousands have signed a petition calling for a Brandon Elementary School principal to step down. It was launched by Lindsay Robinson after she heard about a 12-year-old boy who was bullied while on a school field trip. We'll have more on that in our next local news coming up at 6:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
We also have some warnings still in place. So an orange level warning for rainfall is still in place for Dauphin, Minnedosa, McCurry, Duck Mountain, and through that area of Manitoba. This is very heavy rain still expected, anywhere from 35 to 90 millimeters of rain. It's going to be a day, folks. Thanks for being with us here. We're on until 8:37, as I mentioned. Here's some other stories we're working on. We are going to hear what's happening tomorrow at the Forks. It is Canada Day. There's all kinds of different events going on, including a citizenship ceremony. So stay tuned. We'll hear about that. In addition, in a Canada First social media app is dropping tomorrow. So we'll find out what that app is going to do for you. Stay with us.
On cue,
Deborah Cox is one of the most celebrated voices in Canadian music, but she'll be here to tell you about starting out as a backup singer for Celine Dion in the 90s.
Real cool, professional, and again, kind.
And now singing one of Celine's biggest hits in a new big Broadway smash hit. Deborah Cox will be here.
Q with Tom Power, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. A wildfire near Fort Simpson, Northwest Territories, is intensifying. The out-of-control fire is headed directly toward town. Wind fueled the fire, and it made a sudden turn. As Kate Kyle tells us, officials have issued an emergency shelter-in-place order for anyone still there.
Shelter-in-place order. Fort Simpson. All remaining residents and emergency essential personnel must shelter in place at the recreation center.
Just before 7 p.m. local time, the alert rang out. Anyone left in the village of Fort Simpson must shelter in place. The warning means the wildfire now poses an immediate threat to the community. Forrest Tower is a fire information officer in Fort Simpson.
There is a likelihood that we do have fire impact into the community. Into the overnight period. It's just so dependent on wind speed and wind direction.
The village and wildfire officials had been preparing for the wind to turn, blowing toward the community. The rec center is set up to shelter community members.
It got dark really fast.
Fort Simpson's Mayor Les Wright said about 800 residents have left. Shortly after the order was called, Wright said the wind changed again.
I have not seen any hot spots or anything yet. The wind did just change like 10 minutes ago, blowing away from the island, so that's a good thing.
Forrest Tower says it's been hard to assess what the fire is doing because there's so much smoke.
We might, get lucky and it could get really close in some areas and have minimal impact. Worst case scenario, we have fire enter the entire community. So really hard still at this point to say what is going to happen.
The village and wildfire officials are prepared if the situation worsens. Kate Kyle, CBC News, Yellowknife.
The U.S. Supreme Court is expected to hand down its final decisions before going on summer break this morning. The justices have 4 cases left on their docket. Sasha Petrusik has been following the Supreme Court for us from Washington. And Sasha, there are 2 highly anticipated rulings, one on transgender athletes and the other on birthright citizenship. What do we know about these cases?
Well, Marcia, there's been a great deal of anticipation here for both of those cases in particular. Birthright citizenship is the main one. Until now, that concept has been protected by the U.S. Constitution, the 14th Amendment. The idea is that there's automatic citizenship granted to nearly everyone born in the United States, regardless of the citizenship of the child's parents. Until now, that hasn't been an issue. Now, President Donald Trump has been calling it a disgrace. Others in the White House have been calling it preposterous and the dumbest immigration policy in the world. And Trump has actually claimed that no other country does this. Canada, of course, has very similar policies. This is something that many people within the MAGA movement that supports Trump have been backing, primarily because they think it has been a pathway to illegal immigration in this country. The other big question, the other big ruling that everyone's expecting is on transgender rights. And that is a question of ruling on state bans on transgender athletes who play on women's sports teams. 29 states have banned transgender student athletes from this sort of participation. Supporters of the ban say they're necessary to ensure fairness, and the opponents are saying that they discriminate against trans people. The courts will be ruling. And on this one, many of the conservative judges have said that they're not sure that this is something that should be allowed at this stage because there isn't enough scientific evidence to show what impact that actually has.
Thank you, Sasha.
You're welcome, Marcia.
Sasha Petrusik reporting in Washington. In Venezuela. A 12-year-old boy is pulled out of the rubble of a collapsed building. His rescue comes 5 days after back-to-back earthquakes. More than 1,700 people are dead, and the strong aftershocks are slowing down search and rescue operations. Tens of thousands of people are considered to be missing, and the humanitarian crisis is growing. Many people have been forced to sleep outside. Several countries have sent help, including Canada. Police have been deployed across South Africa for anti-immigrant protests. Demonstrators are calling for all undocumented migrants to leave the country today. Many have already left, fearing xenophobic violence. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has warned on anti-immigrant protests remain peaceful. The CBC's Anna Cunningham is following the latest developments.
For months, protests have been growing.
We're actually sick and tired of the crime committed against South African citizens at the hands of foreigners who are entering the country illegally.
On Monday, in the South African township of Soweto, one protest leader, Nkosi Kona Ndabandaba, told crowds, South African people are saying only that illegal foreigners must go. Today is the deadline they have set.
This is an issue which we have taken too long as government to address,
says Tamsanqa Ntuli, the KwaZulu-Natal Premier. In the southeastern city of Durban, groups are gathering. Many in traditional Zulu dress carrying indigenous sticks and shields, singing and chanting Abahambe, meaning let them go, as security forces keep watch. In recent weeks, at least 2 Mozambicans, an Ethiopian and a Malawian, have been killed in anti-immigrant violence.
The data does not correspond with the deeply entrenched perceptions.
Ongama Mtika is a lecturer in history and political studies at Nelson Mandela University. He says the very basis of the South African economy has been migrant labour. The governments of Nigeria, Malawi, Ghana, Mozambique and Zimbabwe have organised repatriations of their citizens. Many seen boarding buses and planes loaded with bags. Anna Cunningham, CBC News, London.
M23 rebel leaders in the Democratic Republic of Congo say they have managed an Ebola outbreak in the areas under their control. A spokesperson for the M23 militant says they have done their own contact tracing and monitored about 400 people. He says no new infections have been detected. The World Health Organization has warned instability in eastern DRC makes it difficult to manage the broader outbreak. There have been more than 1,300 Ebola cases and almost 400 deaths since the outbreak began in mid-May. For the first time in 2 decades, a sitting prime minister will visit Kuujjuaq. Mark Carney is heading to the northern Quebec community today. He will meet with Inuit leaders while he is there. As Olivia Stefanovic tells us, the discussion is expected to focus on how Inuit priorities line up with Carney's agenda to build and secure the north.
We have wanted a prime minister to come and visit us in our part of the world.
And later today, that will become a reality with Prime Minister Mark Carney's trip to Kuujjuaq. Peter Adamy is the president of the Makivik Corporation, the legal and political representative for Quebec's Inuit.
It's very important to show our realities to the Prime Minister and to the ministers.
Carney is the first Prime Minister to visit Kuujjuaq in almost 20 years. The last was Stephen Harper in 2008.
And so I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm excited for it.
Natan Obed is the president of the Inuit Tapere Kanatami. He's co-chairing the Inuit Crown Partnership Committee meeting with Carney. From major infrastructure projects to ensuring Inuit benefit from the tens of billions of dollars slated to be spent on defense in the Arctic, Obed says there's a lot to discuss.
I think that our relationship is the most important thing. The relationship with the Prime Minister, with members of the Cabinet.
Inuit leaders are taking a charter flight from Montreal to meet Carney in Kuujjuaq with 6 members of his cabinet, including Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Rebecca Alty.
The Prime Minister is committed to getting out and going across Canada, and particularly the north.
A message Alty hopes will resonate with Inuit during a visit that comes just before Canada Day. Olivia Stefanovic, CBC News, Montreal.
Moroccan fans celebrate their team's win at the World Cup. They took down the Netherlands in extra time last night. That means Morocco will be Canada's opponent in the round of 16. Canada has a scheduled rest day today to prepare for their next match. It happens in Houston this Saturday afternoon. Kickoff is at 1 p.m. Eastern. That is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Marcia Young.
Morning, everyone. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio. We're live in downtown Winnipeg in our CBC Studio 15 on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and on YouTube. Thanks for joining us. It is Tuesday. For a lot of people, it's like a Friday if you have Canada Day off. And a beautiful sky out there this morning. It was so dark yesterday. This morning, we've got some light blue and pretty clear in downtown Winnipeg to start. That, of course, hasn't been the case across most of the province. Heather Wells is in a moment to talk about headlines in some of the areas that are flooded this morning. In addition, this hour, we will talk about Canada Day, what's happening at the Forks. You might be wondering if you have the day off. Well, a lot. We'll find out more about how they're celebrating the diversity of Manitoba. In addition, a new Canada First social media app is dropping tomorrow, and the co-founder of Gander Social will tell us why he wants the feed to make you smile. So we'll find out what's on the feed and how you can use it. Stay with us. First, though, let's go to Heather Wells in our News Centre for Developing Stories. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, parts of western Manitoba were blasted with rain yesterday. In Boissevain, Environment Canada says 152 millimeters fell by 8 o'clock last night. We're going to hear from Ross McKellar, who watched the downpour from a campground. And he says at the age of 70, he has never seen that much rain in such a short period of time. It wasn't just rain, though. There was wind, too, and Morden was walloped, clocking at 106 kilometers an hour. So we'll hear more about all of that as well. A decision from Manitoba's top court this month is raising concerns about the use of AI in court, and that more people are going to start using AI to represent themselves when they don't have a lawyer. So we'll hear one result in our next local news coming up at 6:30.
I'll tell you what, Heather, I think today we're going to hear a lot more by the end of the day, more about how the rainfall amounts affected all of our communities. My social feeds last night, I mean, I saw things even in Winnipeg, with Keniston having issues with water backing up, and someone wrote to me saying that in North Kildonan, again, they had some challenges. And then if you look at even some of the structures that got thrown around, there were trees that probably were weakened from previous storms.
Yeah,
went
big
down.
trees.
Yeah. One right across, I think, an area around Keniston as well, one of the offside streets. And then the other thing was like a twisted metal. It looked like it was some type of a shelter, maybe like it didn't look like a full transit shelter, but some type of a public shelter like that. Just like twisted up and kind of thrown in St. Vital. So just there's lots of things that happen in Winnipeg I think we're going to have to learn about
Mother
too.
Nature is powerful.
Yeah, she's going crazy this year. As far as outside the city, Claudia Victoria wrote to CBC this morning just reminding us about Swan River, which of course was deluged in the very first storm we had earlier in the spring. Claudia said that Swan River is still really worrisome, as you can imagine, with levels of water. She says the fields around there all look like lakes. So we have a lot to take stock of here. Never mind the folks that are out of their homes from the north still because of fires. So we've got all the extremes. We will also hear this hour, just before we get into today's forecast, from that couple that had their farmhouse damaged in the tornado. So let's add another issue here. That was the couple from Rossburn that's grappling with the reality of losing their home after their house was hit by a tornado on Sunday. So Manitoba's walloping us, Abby Adiyemi. We're getting all the extremes. It's crazy.
Yes, Marcy, and it's going to be definitely a humid and a messy start due to the systems we saw last night with those powerful storms dumping those historic amounts of rain in like the Westman into the Parkland area. Looking at the Deloraine and Minto Nipawin area, we're looking at over 100 millimeters of rain. And adding to that now, this morning, we're waking up to orange level rainfall warning in effect effect for parts of western Manitoba. We're talking about regions from the Dauphin area towards Russell, Mendoza, all the way to Swan River this morning, where the storm is still stalling in that part of the province. Checking the tracker right now, we just see the storms really coming from the Saskatchewan end, and this will be bringing additional 35 to 90 millimeters of rain towards that region. And this massive downpour means just look out for very high risk of flash flooding, washout roads in that region. And if you have to travel today, please be incredibly careful, as conditions are going to be dangerous on the roads and could be completely flooded. This heavy rain is expected to finally taper off later today, so please be safe. Avoid any flooded areas until the system clears out. But for Winnipeg right now, we're seeing some sunshine outside. Temperatures hovering between 16 and 18 degrees, and we'll see a mix of sun and clouds with breezy southwest winds today. Our daytime high getting close to 25, and that's the condition across most of the regions. In the south right now, we're seeing temperatures around 17, warming up to about 24 later. But further north, we're still seeing smoky conditions in some areas, especially the Gillam area, so you need to take it easy if you're spending time outside. It's going to be smoky and showery in that part of the province. 3 degrees as you travel further north, and we're seeing 17 degrees in the powerful influence. But for now, Winnipeg, we are around 17 degrees. We get to 24 later.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
May McKillop, what's going on in the early report in traffic?
Well, not hearing anything on the commuter line so far, but of course, some of the roads in the city have got to be flooded or washed out. I'm really curious. I'm really curious what you're seeing out there on the roads in the city. Taking a quick look at highways out of the city, Highway number 5 from Neepawa to Highway 261, that's towards Riding Mountain North, is closed due to that rainstorm last night. As well, I noticed on Manitoba 511 that there was some flooding on Highway 16. It was closed in both directions from Gladstone to Neepawa. That was last night around midnight, so I'm curious what's going on there. If you are driving that road, give us a call on the commuter line. And a quick look north due to fires. Lynn Lake, Highway 394 and 396 east towards the Saskatchewan border is closed, as well in the Leaf Rapids area west out of Leaf Rapids on Highway 493 is also closed. So a lot going on throughout our province. I'll try to keep you updated on what's going on your commute. If you wanted to give me a call and let me know what you're seeing, that would help. That number to call is 204-788-3093.
Well, Canada Day is tomorrow. CBC Manitoba is going to be at the Fork, set up with our special rolling booth, and we're going to be collecting things from you in the way by way of messages from you. Our focus for Canada Day across CBC is shout someone out. Shout someone out who makes your life better in this country. Could be a family member, could be someone from back in the day that really helped you here in Canada. So we'd love to have you stop by and see us. Also, Corey and I are going to be doing, Corey Funk and I are going to be there at the Forks all day, nationally hitting into our shows so we can bring Manitoba to the country. So come and see us. We are there from bright and early tomorrow morning, from like 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, right through until the evening. And there's so much going on in between. So let's find out about that. CBC is sponsoring Canada Day celebrations across the country, including at the Forks in Winnipeg. So the Forks is looking at the theme of many cultures that make up Manitoba. And to talk about what's going on site tomorrow, up early is Betty Ferrer. She's Communications and Marketing Coordinator at the Forks. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy. How are you?
I'm well. So tell me a little bit about how you guys landed on sort of this theme, the loose theme that you're going to be using tomorrow for Canada Day and celebrating our diversity.
Yeah, well, the idea behind Many Nations, One Heartbeat, Win Canada Day is actually the 11th and final day of that whole theme, bridging National Indigenous Peoples Day and Canada Day together. And the idea is to kind of bring forward the stories and the different cultures that are the visitors of the Forks.
How are you going to do that tomorrow? What kinds of things are happening?
Yeah, we have lots planned. So tomorrow on Canada Day, there is going to be a full day of fun, family-friendly programming from 10:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. The morning kicks off with a welcoming ceremony. It is then followed by a special citizenship ceremony that will be happening on CN Field. Throughout the day, visitors can visit a handmade market, and then they can also check out some cultural performances at the North Star Dance Festival, and they can even partake in a West African drumming ceremony. And then there's also the 20th anniversary of the Plaza Skate Park, which is really exciting. So that space will be activated with some free skateboarding lessons as well as some spray painting activities. And then finally, there's going to be lots of live performances throughout the site. So there will be 2 stages. First, the Wahkotowan Youth Stage, which will feature 5 up-and-coming artists. And then the CN Stage, which will feature cultural performances in the afternoon. And then some local Manitoban talent in the evening.
You talked about the citizenship ceremony. That's new for you to have at the Forks as part of Canada Day. How special will that be to have that on this day?
Yeah, it's going to be a really special moment. I've seen a couple myself personally, and it's always such a heartwarming moment to see people come together and see their pride in becoming Canadian. So having that at the Forks, which is a very iconic Winnipeg landmark, is so special. And there's no better place to do it than in the heart of the city.
How many people are you guys preparing for? Like, what number are you playing with in your head that could be there tomorrow?
We have about, I think, 30 soon-to-be Canadians to be sworn in.
Yeah, and what about overall on the day? What are you prepping for? What could the crowds look like?
The crowds it's going to be quite a busy day, depending on the weather, of course. But we are encouraging our visitors of the Forks to leave the car at home and then maybe walk, run, paddle, or take transit to the site just to increase their ease of visitation.
What should people know if they do take their bikes or if they paddle, or like in terms of, is there a place to leave their bike or lock their bike up if they haven't been to the Forks in that way, active transportation wise?
Yes, yeah, there will be a bike valet at the Forks, so that will be available on the day of.
Nice. And in terms of, being there for certain times, if people want to take a break or sit down with the family, should they bring a chair or a blanket, or what should they know about the venue itself?
Yeah, there's a lot of green space at the Forks, so you can come take a seat at CN Field, enjoy all the performances on CN stage. You're free to bring a lawn chair for that, but there's also the great Forks Market, so you can grab a seat there, grab a bite to eat, a drink from the common.
Paddling to the Forks, if someone does that, is there a place to put your canoe?
Yes.
You get a lot of that?
Yes, we get a lot of, I run the social media accounts for the Forks, so we get a lot of DMs about that, and there is usually like our docks out there, so you can park it around our docks.
What's it been like at the Forks so far this year? I mean, we've had a strange start to the season.
Yes, yeah. The weather has been very unpredictable, but on those sunny days, those special sunny days, there's so many people that come out and enjoy the weather, enjoy the site, and yeah, it's been fantastic.
There's some kind of an event that is, I know because I've been reading about it as I was prepping for tomorrow, people are writing love letters as allies to our Indigenous communities, is that right?
Yes, so around the Odena Circle, you'll be able to write some love notes, so that's Love Note Cipher just around the Odena Circle.
And that is, that's like an artist installation, a whole bunch of them there doing different sort of signs of love?
Yes, pretty much. So it's kind of inviting the public to be part of this big art piece.
So if people are wondering about getting there, you said to pay attention and maybe consider active transportation. You can park if you want to, I guess, but the spots will fill up. What should they know about times, and where can they find more information about what's happening at the Forks?
Yeah, you can find all of the times and information about the event listings at theforks.com.
Okay, great. Thanks for coming in this morning early.
Thank you.
We'll see you on site tomorrow.
Awesome. See you.
That's Betty Ferrer. She's the Communications and Marketing Coordinator over at the Forks. So check out forks.com for all the details, as she just mentioned. CBC is sponsoring various Canada Day festivities at the Forks this year. Please come and make sure you check out us on site. You can find more information about that at cbc.ca/Manitoba/community.
On the topics that matter, your voice should be heard.
It looks like this is maybe a one-day blip when farmers across the province need hot and dry.
Radio Noon is where you can voice your take.
In general, it's harder to find a job even if you're educated.
I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. From 12:15 to 1 p.m., Radio Noon opens the phone lines on one important topic.
When I was 5 or 6, my parents gave me seeds and helped me plant them. That was probably close to 70 years ago. And here I am still gardening.
It just brings everyone together. Radio Noon's call-in segment, 204-780-0893. We want to hear from you weekdays on CBC.
Hi, Canada. I'm Andrea Martin.
Hi, I'm Tom Green.
Hi, I'm Chef Sicily.
Hey, what's up? It's Andrew Fung.
This Canada Day, we are turning over the mic, and we want to hear from you.
I want to shout out.
I'd like to give a shout out
Tell us about a fellow Canadian who's changed your life, whether they've helped you move a couch or move a mountain. Shout out, Canada.
I want to give a shout out to Tony Duffenay, who was my high school drama teacher.
I want to shout out my late mother, Lucine Bailey.
Email us at ask@cbc.ca and you could see your shout out on air during our special all-day programming on Canada Day.
So many people already starting with the shout-outs. I asked on my Facebook page. I just want to share a couple of quick ones from Manitoba. Linda English says, I want to shout out Taylor Galvin from Broken Head, Ojibwe Nation. Incredible. I have faith she will change the world with her environmental advocacy, especially for Lake Winnipeg sturgeon. And then I also just want to share this one. This one comes in from Angela Heck, who says, all the people who volunteer at Manitoba festivals, they bring joyful experiences to life that wouldn't be possible without them. Special shout out to everyone volunteering at the Jazz Winnipeg Festival this week. Some have been doing so for over 30 years. So lots of commitment and loyalties to our different events to make them happen. Well, next on Information Radio, from the food we eat to the produce we buy, Canadians have been looking for more homegrown options. But when it comes to social media, foreign-owned tech companies still dominate our screens. But there's a Canadian-built platform that's pitching itself as a digital sanctuary, promising healthier conversations, and a commitment to keeping Canada's data right here at home. To talk more about it, Ben Waldman is here, CEO and co-founder of Gander Social. Good morning.
Good morning. I love that we're coming right out of conversations about joy.
Right?
Perfect.
So tell me why. How does this app work?
So we started Gander about a year ago when our neighbor to the south decided to call us the 51st state and surrounded himself with all of the tech icons that rule our lives. And Canadians really were lacking a voice on social media. We're drowned out by Americans and by others on U.S. platforms. And we thought it was time that something was built in Canada that followed Canadian values, Canadian laws, and gave Canadians a space that they could call their own and have a voice.
How does it work functionally? Like, besides being exclusive to Canadians, what makes Gander Social different from maybe other mainstream social media apps?
Well, we've kind of flipped the idea of social media on its head. The way it's become, the business model relies on outrage, and it relies on, playing with your dopamine to keep you addicted. And what we decided to do was to create a space that is not run by robots and trolls. Instead, we verify humans. We make sure if you're posting your comment or your chat that you are a human and you're an adult. We also moderate under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and Canadian laws. And so hate speech is not allowed. You can't bully people. You can't attack people based on their identity, et cetera. And so we keep all those things in check. And then we also keep a really close eye on misinformation. You can post news links on Gander, but it's very easy to identify what is news and what is in fact not news. And we're trying to create a healthier space that really has been resonating. It's social media that'll make you smile instead of you feeling like you have to treat a migraine at the end of the day that you didn't know you had.
You have 18,000 people using the site right now. It becomes increasingly difficult if it grows to keep on top of everything. How are you verifying who's asking to join and where they are? And, how worried are you about keeping up if it does grow?
Yeah, well, so you can join from anywhere. It's really when you want to start interacting that it's time to verify. And so we have a couple of methods right now, and we're adding more. The first method is if you are in a university or you're a member of a union or an association, you can verify using that email address. It doesn't have to be your account email. You can just verify using that email because they've proved that you're human. The other way for those who don't have that option is Canada Post's Identity Plus app. We work with them because, we know that they know who you are. They deliver your mail. And they give, if you use the Canada Post Identity Plus app, it just gives us two signals. We get no data at all. It just tells us that you're adult and you're human. And Canada Post deletes your identity data after about an hour or two.
How do you sustain all of this if you're not for profit?
So we're not actually a not-for-profit. We're a benefit company, which exists only in BC, which means we are a for-profit company, but we've set a mandate for social good. So we've got to stick to that. And right now we've talked with the community for a long time about how they think we should be sustained. And there's a couple things. So one is we are testing some advertising, though it's like non-extractive advertising, not manipulative advertising. It's more like sponsorship. And then the other thing the community has said is that they wouldn't mind subscribing if they knew they weren't being manipulated and abused of. And so we're going to be testing out subscriptions for people who use social media more professionally, like businesses and creators and that kind of thing.
Gander, the name of the app, is it for Gander, Newfoundland?
It is, in part, yeah. So it's kind of a triple entendre. One is definitely the Canadian goose. Two is to look at something. But over and above all of that, it is Gander, Newfoundland. We were very inspired by Come From Away and by just the kindness, show of community and support for people, for strangers that Gander, Newfoundland represents. And we think it's just a very fantastic Canadian symbol. And so that's why we did it.
Thanks so much for the conversation this morning, Ben. We'll have to see what develops with Gander Social. Appreciate hearing about it.
Thanks. Your users are welcome to join today. We're actually doing a goose chase on there today, trying to get Wob Canoe to sign up. So please come to gandersocial.ca and have some fun with us.
All right, take care.
Thanks so much.
Ben Waldman, CEO and co-founder of Gander Social. It is time now for your CBC News from Manitoba.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it is 17 degrees. Lots of sunshine out there right now. Last day of June, and we have a near normal temperature of 24. But once again, we also have a slight chance of showers and again a risk of a thunderstorm with a strong southwest wind. Well, parts of western Manitoba were slammed by a dump of rain last night. In Boissevain, Environment Canada says 152 millimeters fell by 8 last evening. Ross McKellar says he's never seen such a big amount of rain in such a short period of time.
We're in our trailer, and our son was here, and he has a car that's fairly close to the ground. And he had to go move it because we were sure the water was going to go through the doors into the car. We were positive.
McKellar worries for farmers and their fields, along with people whose homes were flooded. Environment Canada says Deloraine took on 128 millimeters of rain. Minto had 114. There was some powerful wind last night as well. 106 kilometers an hour clocked in Morden. Now, some Brandon streets flooded after heavy rains there. Mayor Jeff Fawcett says the city's done drainage work in some flood-prone areas, but still has areas of slow drainage.
People know Richmond Avenue around where McDonald's and the Shoppers Mall, try to avoid it. It's very, very high, the water level there.
Brandon recorded 53 millimeters of rain by 8 last night. A retired Rossburn couple say they are fortunate to have survived a tornado that destroyed their century-old home. It happened around 7:30 Sunday evening. Brian Brown was in his shop when he noticed the wind pick up and went into the house to check on his wife. They dropped to the floor as the front windows and door blew out. The twister then ripped off the roof.
Hell. Shock, actually, more than anything. I couldn't believe. My wife and I retired here in 2004 with the plan of renovating this house. It took us 10 years to renovate it. We've been here for 22 years, and it took 10 seconds to do this.
Brown says family and friends are helping out, and he will be talking to his insurance agent to find out what can be salvaged. A decision from Manitoba's top court this month is raising concerns about the use of AI in court. The case involves a self-represented Brandon woman whose appeal filings, a judge said, appear to have been generated by AI gone awry. Experts say those kinds of cases seem to be on the rise, especially among people representing themselves without a lawyer. Leah Kozakowski is CEO of the Law Society of Manitoba.
I expect that it will increase. People don't yet understand the risks involved in using it and the fact that it truly is unreliable.
Experts say this case highlights a larger issue with access to justice with people who can't afford a lawyer, feeling like they have no other option but to use AI to help them. The mom of a Brandon boy who was bullied on a school field trip says she's now been offered a seat on a new anti-bullying review panel. Laura Lise Yashuk's 12-year-old son Lincoln's head was pushed into a toilet containing human waste. It happened on a school field trip. Yashuk says it took a week before the school division even responded to the incident. But now she says she's been invited to join a new review panel to look for gaps in anti-bullying programs and come up with solutions.
I expect that it will increase. People don't yet understand.
Parents and the teachers, we need the higher level bureaucrats. They know the ins and outs of what policies are and what they need to be, but we have the ideas. So I see promise in this.
Meanwhile, about 2,000 people have signed a petition calling for the principal of Yashuk's son's school to step down over inaction concerning a number of bullying incidents. To Fort Simpson in the Northwest Territories, where people received an emergency alert last night.
Shelter in place order. Fort Simpson. All remaining residents and emergency essential personnel must shelter in place at the recreation center.
A wildfire near the town is intensifying. An evacuation order was given Sunday, but some stayed behind, and now they're being asked to shelter in place, as you heard there. Forrest Tower is a fire information officer.
We might, get lucky and it could get really close in some areas and have minimal impact. Worst case scenario, we have fire enter the entire community. So really hard still at this point to say what is going to happen.
About 800 people have already left Fort Simpson from a population of 1,100. You can hear the latest on that story as well as other national and international news coming up on World Report at 7. Well, Moroccan soccer fans are celebrating. Morocco beat the Netherlands last night in penalties at the World Cup to advance to the round of 16 teams. And so now Morocco will now play Canada this Saturday in Houston. Morocco beat Canada during the last World Cup in 2022. You can find more news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Holy moly. I don't know if that's good for Canada, bad for Canada. I mean,
you know what? Especially that last line. I felt bad saying that Morocco beat us last World Cup. But when in the rankings, Morocco is like in the top 10. We are not.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game no matter what. Even if it were Netherlands, it would have been the same thing. They're ranked higher than us. But anything can happen. Was it Paraguay that beat Germany yesterday in penalties too?
That was incredible too.
Yeah, those games. Oh, although I cringed when the one player got a little, maybe not a little, he got a cut on his head. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, he had blonde hair. I'll just let you imagine that was like. Then they stapled his head. Athletes are incredible. And then he was still
on the field,
playing.
did they do that?
Yes. I know. It was quite a sight. But these players are playing with everything, right? They're like, don't take me off.
They're motivated for sure.
Yeah, wipe the blood away. Let's keep on rolling. Wow. Okay, Saturday, Morocco. I missed the end of that game. I didn't catch those penalties.
Yeah, the penalties. It's like you're watching with your hands over your eyes,
So stressful. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Abby. Did you watch it?
It's not over until it's over. Yeah. That's what I call this round of tournaments that we've been seeing and the games. Waiting. The Moroccans actually scored 90 minutes on the dot. Like the ref was supposed to end the game and they scored.
Really?
That's what took them into the extra time and the penalty shootout. So it was like, really? So, well, I was stressed also last night, but I'm okay today. Let's talk about...
Sitting on our couches.
We have storms to talk about this morning.
We do.
Rainfall warnings are active across western Manitoba this morning. We're talking about from the Souris, from the Dauphin area towards the Minidosa area. And of course, Swan River this morning. You still have rain, those staggering systems still holding things down in that area. This is just following last night's storms that dumped over 150 millimeters of rain in some areas. So you're still going to get more. And of course, in the northern part of the province, while we're talking about flood in the south, we have localized smoke now coming into play in that part of the province, along with showers. For the Red River Valley region, a mix of sun and clouds, a slim chance of late afternoon showers and a risk of thunderstorms thunderstorms. Current temperatures between 16 and 18, depending on where you are in the city. We're going to see just hover around 17 before we get to a high of 24 today. But look out for strong, windy southwest gusts later in the day. And across other southern regions, we're seeing 15s to 17s. It's going to be humid at some point. There's also risk of downpours. More than towards Port de la Prairie, we're seeing 15 there. You head to 24. Brandon towards Nipawin, 15 heading to 19. And then the Dauphin area towards the Roblin area, where we're seeing heavy rain at this time. 16 degrees at this time. You only get to 18. There's a risk of thunderstorms in the mix. Gimli's at 17. You see 22 later today. Then we go into the northern part of the province where smoke in multiple communities present this morning. Like around the power, we're seeing cloudy conditions with local smoke, 17 at this time. Norway House has rain at this time with thunderstorms, currently 16 degrees there. And then if you move towards the Thompson and the Split Lake area, we also have a local smoke there, cloudy conditions, 14. It's sunny and smoky around the Lane Lake area. Similar conditions we're seeing in Gillam at this time. 14s and 9s we're seeing in that part. Tudula Lake also seeing local smoke and sunny. We'll get to 23 in that part of the province. And then you go to Churchill region, 3 degrees, you only touch 9. Breezy northeast winds in place. So it's more like a divide. We're seeing rainfall in the southern part and we're seeing localized smoke up north. So take it easy if you're spending time outside. Winnipeg, we're at 17 at this time, aiming for 24.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Let's get into the morning commute. There's a couple things to tell you about.
Couple road closures, mainly highways that I'm seeing so far. I haven't heard much about what's going on in Winnipeg yet, but I'm sure that there's stuff getting in the way of your commute, so let me know if it is. I'll mention a couple highway closures in the Westman area. Highway number 5 from Nipawin to Highway 261, that's north heading towards Riding Mountain, is closed due to that rainstorm last night. As well, I saw yesterday, or last night posted on Manitoba 511, there was flooding on Highway 16, both directions from Gladstone to Nipawin. So if you're traveling in that area and you happen to see what's going on, give me a call to let me know. As well, I'll just head north for a moment to talk about the fires around Lynn Lake. Highway 394 and 396 east towards the Saskatchewan border is closed, as well as west out of Leaf Rapids, Highway 493. That's what I'm seeing so far, but if you are driving, walking, busing, anything getting in your way, let me know what's happening out on the commute. The number to call is 204-788-3093.
All right, thanks, May McKillop. Let's get into business news now. Chrisley Ramlakan here via Zoom. Good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Marcy.
So let's start with the latest look at how the Canadian economy is doing today. What do we know so far?
Yes, so we will get the latest GDP numbers for April today. And what we do know is that the economy is struggling. It has been struggling. We experienced back-to-back quarters of economic contraction at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, sparking heated debate about whether Canada is in a technical recession. Now, wherever you land on that debate, one thing is clear, though. Canada's economy is weak. And it was weak before President Donald Trump came along, but of course his trade war has made it even weaker. And the economy hasn't grown in a year, but there is some hope. Statistics Canada says advanced information indicates real GDP increased in April. So RBC economists say early data is pointing to a significant increase in non-conventional oil extraction and oil drilling in April. And there was also a pickup in manufacturing GDP. So they say goods producing sectors likely expanded. So today's GDP numbers are expected to show a rebound after a long run of negative growth. And BMO chief economist Doug Porter acknowledges there's been basically no growth in Canada's economy over the past year as U.S. tariffs tanked Canadian exports, but he would not consider Canada to be in a recession. And BMO's forecast sees the economy struggling to grow this year before actually rebounding next year.
Let's go to another story here, but staying on trade. What are we hearing about tomorrow, the big day, the Canada-US-Mexico agreement?
Yes, so that key date for the critical trade agreement will likely come and go this week as the U.S. continues to push for concessions. So the U.S. is set to officially inform Canada and Mexico tomorrow of its intentions for the Continental Trade Pact. And all signs indicate the Trump administration will blow past that July 1st date without agreeing to renew the deal. But CUSMA will remain in place no matter what the U.S. does this week. Failing to agree to renewal will just trigger a rolling annual review for up to 10 years, at which point CUSMA would expire if it's not renewed. So the trade agreement has shielded Canada and Mexico from many of Trump's tariffs. But Canada's former chief trade negotiator says he doesn't expect Canada to reach a tariff deal with Washington before the U.S. midterm elections in November. So Steve Verheuel says there could be a window where Trump and his administration are looking for a political win before American voters head to the polls in the fall. And Verheuel led talks for Canada during the renegotiation of the North American Free Trade Pact during Trump's first term.
Finally, this morning, more weight loss drugs are entering the Canadian market, I understand.
Yes, that's right. So Health Canada has now approved the first generic semaglutide injection for weight loss. It's called Sfamia, and it's the generic version of the brand name drug Wegovy, and it's from the Canadian company Apotex. So it's the third generic semaglutide product approved by the department. The first two were authorized for the treatment of type 2 diabetes in adults, but of course some people were using them off-label for weight management. But this one is labeled for weight loss. And Health Canada says it's reviewing 6 other submissions for generics from different companies and expects to make more decisions in the coming weeks and months. So that means we could possibly see even more generics come on the market, which means cheaper prices for people.
All right, Crystalie, happy Canada Day for tomorrow. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Marcia. Yes, and tomorrow's also my birthday. So happy Canada Day and happy birthday to me.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday to you for sure. And thanks for all your work on the program. We always appreciate being with you every morning.
Thanks, Marcy.
That's Crystalie Ramlakan with our business news. She is here every morning right around this time, which is 6:45 a.m. Well, as we continue this morning across Manitoba to take stock of the latest rainstorm that moved through in western Manitoba, Brandon and Boissevain specifically very affected. People are still coming to terms with what happened over the weekend. A retired couple in Rossburn, Manitoba, as you've been hearing on the news, is grappling with the reality of being without a home. They were the couple that had that tornado rip through their community on Sunday in Rossburn. CBC's Chelsea Kemp spoke to Bernadine and Brian Brown about what it's been like.
Hell. Shock, actually, more than anything. I couldn't believe. My wife and I retired here in 2004 with the plan of renovating this house. It took us 10 years to renovate it. We've been here for 22 years, and it took 10 seconds to do this.
Well, a huge mix of emotions, because at the time when it happened, we didn't really know what was going on. And we knew that there was an alert out, but that's all. And we've been through storms before, so it wasn't a big deal. It was a big deal when all of a sudden the windows came crashing through. And that was alerted by the noise, and it came into the house to make sure I was okay, which is perfect timing, because had he stayed in the shop, he would have been killed. All his tools and everything were thrown all over the place, so he would have been hit with something.
Oh, it was scary. Like, I've never seen wind like that. It blew the 2 big windows in the front and the door all simultaneously, just blew them right in. And trees. Like the whole forest fell down. Yeah, whole forest fell all at once. And then when I got up off the floor, you couldn't go anywhere because you couldn't walk down the hallway, you couldn't go up the stairs, like it was just all...
But the whole point was that when he'd left the shop, came into the house, that's when the windows started to go out. And he was the one that sold me, hit the floor, because I didn't realize. I was just changing a load of laundry, so I didn't realize it was that bad outside.
Have you been able to go in the house? Because you said like your glasses and your hearing aids, and I assume other stuff is in there.
Yeah, the glasses, I had the glasses on, so I'm really not sure what happened to them. Maybe when I went down the floor, they dropped, but I did go back and try to find them, and I can't find them. But there's so much rubble in there.
Well, we picked our way out, got outside. There was 2 fellows here from Storm Chasers. looking for us, making sure that we got out. So that was good.
Was it light outside or was it dark outside?
It was fairly light. It was on not even 8 o'clock.
I had gone to church in the morning. It was after lunch. It was going into the evening. We had already eaten supper. Yeah, and so we knew that there was a storm coming, but we weren't too alarmed because there was nothing really happening. It didn't take very long at all, and that was the scary part because you don't know how much damage can be done in such a short period of time.
What was that like coming out and just seeing?
Well, it's upsetting because these trees have been here forever and they're such a huge shelter for us, especially in the winter because we had very little drafts in the house because the trees were always there. Plus we have the birds, it's always nice to have nature having a place to live too. Yeah, we got it painted and then last year we had the whole roof redone, which was great because it's an old barn and it really needed, had the roof not been fixed, it would have been collapsing sooner than later. But now the roof is gone, so.
What would help you guys the most right now?
Well, we're having to figure out where we're going to live because this is our home. And I'm not sure. We haven't really talked about what we're going to do.
It's too big to think about.
But Brian was a lot younger when we did all the work ourselves. And that wouldn't be possible now because he's also battling cancer. So he's under cancer treatment. So he has to be careful.
Oh, I feel so sorry for this couple and the images that are coming by on our video stream if you're watching the show this morning or if you saw yesterday some of our CBC coverage. I mean, beautiful old historic home, and you can hear the love they put into it, restoring it, and a tornado, as they said, took it all away in just a short span of time, just so fast. Thank goodness they're okay. That was the CBC's Chelsea Kemp visiting the couple, Bernadine and Brian Brown. Their home is in Rossburn, Manitoba, and it was destroyed this past weekend. We also know that yesterday in the storms, we're not reporting tornadic activity as there was in Rossburn over the weekend, but we are still taking stock of rainfall amounts. We have an orange level rainfall warning that continues for Dauphin, Russell, Roblin, Riding Mountain, McCurry, Duck Mountain, Swan River, and throughout that area. We're talking 35 to 90 millimeters. This rainfall warning has ended for Brandon, Neepawa, Souris, Carberry, but you've had enough because Boissevain, as you've been hearing, got 152 millimeters of rain in yesterday's storm. 'Living on a floodplain in a wet year. 9 minutes now to 7 o'clock on 89.3. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thanks for joining us on 89.3 FM. You're on CBC this morning. And next on the show, let's talk a little politics. It's Tuesday morning. It's time for Ottawa Report. And Canada Day might be a holiday for many, but for Prime Minister Mark Carney, it will be a key test of his campaign promises. July 1st, as you have been hearing, is when the CUSMA, Canada-US-Mexico Trade Agreement, officially will be up for review. Carney ran on being the man to end Trump's trade and tariff war. The three countries have their first trilateral negotiations tomorrow, and another political priority is also facing a deadline because Alberta's pursuit of a pipeline deal with Ottawa is up for deadline as well. To talk about it, Ryan Tumulty is here, political reporter with the Toronto Star. Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning.
So let's start with Mark Carney, the election platform on the trade issues. To what degree do you think his credibility overall hangs on the outcome of CUSMA negotiations?
Yeah, I think it's really crucial. I think even the Prime Minister would have to admit that. Last year's election, I think more so than any in most recent memories, was really about one issue. It was about this Canada-US relationship. And you have to go back pretty far in history to find some other election that was that singularly focused. The Prime Minister pitched himself as the right guy to reset that relationship. Has been trying to make that case since. And so this deal is very, very important. It's very important to the future of the Canadian economy, which is, of course, also very important to the future of the Prime Minister's political career. So, yeah, I think this is a crucial moment for him.
Now, everyone knows that this will be a difficult negotiation, even, might be delayed. But what does the Prime Minister need to come away with in whatever deal is struck or whatever they agree to have it be seen as a political win for Carney?
Yeah, I think we have to land on a deal that is demonstratively better than our allies. And that's for two reasons. One, I think having taken the time, having made this so central, it's very clear that Canadians expect a good deal. They don't want to just sign on to anything. And then the other picture here is that the deals that we have seen some of our allies sign on to, 20 or 30% tariffs with the U.S. going forward, huge investments, huge spends on U.S. goods. Canada can't afford a deal like that. That is not something, if you're a country who does maybe, 5 or 10% of your trade with the U.S., you can live with a 30% tariff on that trade. If you're Canada and you do so much of your trade, so much of your economy depends on the U.S., you can't afford a bad deal like that. So I think we're going to be watching that one very closely. The Prime Minister has acknowledged that a bad deal is not worth signing for Canada. And so, there are lots of politics in the U.S. at play here as well. You're starting to see them gear up for their midterm elections, and there are definitely parts of the U.S. that are hurting because of this trade war as well. So I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out in the next couple of months.
I mentioned the other deadline here about Alberta, a July 1st deadline to submit a pipeline proposal to Ottawa's Major Projects Office. What does the province have to present? Do we know?
They have to present a credible project, something that is, something that the province can, the province can demonstrate will get built, that will benefit this country. I'm not expecting a sort of line by line, inch by inch, rundown of the project. But I think they need to be pretty clear as to what they're looking to build, where it's going to go, and how they're going to get it done.
Speaking of building, just before you go, 24 Sussex Drive is going to be rebuilt.
Yeah. The Prime Minister announced that Friday with a design competition kicking off that will come forward with a new design for the building on July 1st next year. So by Canada Day next year, we'll know what we're building. And then there's this fundraising component to raise the money for it. That has already kicked off and has already raised apparently a few $100,000 according to the Rideau Hall Foundation, who are managing it. So yes, it looks like the building, which was very recently taken down to the studs to remove the asbestos and the dead rats, and I'm being quite literal there. There were dead rats in the walls. Is going to be rebuilt.
Well, we'll see. This Prime Minister won't likely live there, but future Prime Ministers, I suppose, will take up residence. Thank you very much, Ryan. Appreciate your time, and enjoy Canada Day tomorrow.
All right. Thank you. You too.
That is Ryan Tumulty with us, political reporter with the Toronto Star. I'm Marcy Marcus. So we're live in downtown Winnipeg on 89.3 FM on CBC. Thanks for joining us this morning. Let's talk about what's coming up in the next hour. Pretty exciting day for a family here on Friday because their son, Carson Carls, was drafted 6th overall by the Calgary Flames in the 2026 draft. And they celebrated on the farm in southern Manitoba on their farm. We're going to hear from the family, so stay tuned about all that excitement. In addition, at 7:40, you might avoid some clothes in your closet because of maybe a stain you never got out, a tear you just don't know how to fix. We're going to talk to a local designer. He's made it a bit of a mission to teach people how to give their wardrobe pieces a second chance. So we'll hear more from him coming up in the next hour of the show. Leonard Taylor will be here. Right now, though, let's go to Heather Wells. She's in 3 minutes to 7 o'clock with other local news headlines and developing stories. Hi there.
Hi, good morning. Well, Western Manitoba is still being slammed by wicked weather. Last night, it was heavy rain and lots of it. In Boissevain, Environment Canada says 152 millimeters fell by 8 in the evening. Ross McKellar was in a campground. He says he's never seen so much rain in such a short period of time. Deloraine had 129 millimeters, Minto 113. And don't forget the wind, topping out at 106 kilometers an hour in Morden. Well, a decision from Manitoba's top court this month is raising concerns about the use of AI in court. The case involved a self-represented Brandon woman whose appeal filings a judge said appear to have been generated by AI gone awry. We'll hear that story in our next local news coming up at 7:30.
All right, thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
16 degrees, the high today, 24. It's going to be very, very windy this afternoon, 50 to 70 K from the southwest, and we do have an afternoon risk of a thunderstorm in Winnipeg. With a couple of reminders about your commute this morning in the city, but also on the highways. May McKillopson.
We've got some highway closures. Highway number 5 from Neepawa to Highway 261 is closed, as well up north, Highway 394 and 396 from Lynn Lake east to the Saskatchewan border is closed as well.
All right, things closing because of flooding and fires.
Absolutely, yep. 788-3093 for the commuter line.
All right, thanks, May. So you can reach May McKillop, 788-3093 as mentioned, and we're coming up to the top of the clock here, 1 minute to 7 o'clock. Tuesday morning, last day of June. School's about to be out officially all over the place. Very exciting for teachers and for students. If you want to give us a call and shout out someone from Canada, someone that's made your life better here, we are taking calls this morning. 788-3205. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Stay right here. World Report's coming up next.
I'm Pia Chattopadhyay. A proposed data center has a lot of people upset in Utah, and the project is spearheaded by Canadian celebrity investor Kevin O'Leary.
Provide jobs for them, keep the air clean, it won't be noisy, it'll be a beautiful facility. I know how to do that.
How AI is shaping politics, that's coming up on The Current.
The Current, this morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. Residents in Fort Simpson have been ordered to shelter in place. An out-of-control wildfire is burning near the community. The village in the Northwest Territories is home to nearly 1,300 people. The order was issued after officials initially told residents to evacuate to Yellowknife. Clayton Canacenta was able to leave with his family.
The smoke started getting more thick and it darkened the skies, and then I guess that's when they called it, and then it was a little stressful, and then when we took off. For the kids are like quiet and anxious.
High winds are expected to push the fire closer to Fort Simpson. Another is threatening Highway 1, the primary evacuation route for residents. Venezuelans running for their lives with aftershocks still shaking parts of the country. They have been strong since the country experienced 2 devastating earthquakes last Wednesday. Those aftershocks are making rescue efforts even more difficult. Freelance reporter Cody Weddle has the latest.
Jackhammers ring out on Venezuela's coast as search and rescue teams attempt to reach people trapped under collapsed buildings. More than 30 people have been rescued in miraculous scenes since the twin earthquake struck last week. Thousands of others hold out hope that their loved ones may be found next. Carla Gomez says her sister managed to send a message saying she was alive but injured on Sunday. The family hasn't heard from her since. Crews temporarily halted their efforts on Monday morning after a 5.1 aftershock shook the ground once again. Over 600 aftershocks have been felt since the initial 2 quakes last Wednesday.
Porque el edificio estructuralmente ya no cumple las condiciones.
Jorge Montanero, a firefighter from Ecuador, said the building he had been searching was no longer safe for teams to continue. Other crews from the 24 countries that have sent rescue workers continued their attempts. Families of the missing remain on edge as each hour passes. Officials estimate the death toll could rise to 10,000 by the time relief efforts are complete. Cody Weddle for CBC News, Bogota.
Protesters packed the streets of Johannesburg against undocumented migrants. They want them to leave South Africa, and they set a deadline of today. And many have already fled the country fearing violence. Police and heavily armed security are deployed across the country. I'm joined by freelance reporter Kate Bartlett in Johannesburg. Kate, what is happening where you are?
Yes, I'm in downtown Johannesburg in a central square, and I've just been following a march of anti-immigration protesters. They support this anti-immigrant movement called March and March that set this June 30th deadline, that's today, for all what they call undocumented migrants to leave South Africa. And so there's fears here that violence could break out later today. There are a lot of other African nationals, Somalis, Zimbabweans, Malawians, who live here in downtown Johannesburg. People are hiding away today, I think. They're staying home. Except for the marchers, Johannesburg is kind of a ghost town. Businesses are locked up, they're barricaded, and there is a heavy and visible police presence. There are helicopters flying overhead as well.
What are officials saying?
Well, the government has allowed these protests to go ahead, but said that there must be no violence. There already has been, in the build-up to these protests, at least 5 people have been killed. And the government is trying to walk a fine line between saying, there cannot be any violence against foreign nationals, but also kind of conceding to some of the demands of this populist movement, because it really seems to have captured a lot of South Africans' minds here, and people are really angry. They blame foreign nationals for all kinds of woes, from high crime rates to unemployment rates. And the data doesn't really back this up, but the government has promised to tighten border security, to crack down on undocumented migrants, and this is all in the run-up to local elections in November here.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Freelance reporter Kate Bartlett in Johannesburg. The U.S. Supreme Court will issue its final rulings of the term this morning. The judges have 4 decisions left to release. They include rulings on the efforts to restrict birthright citizenship and a decision on state-level bans that stop transgender women and girls from competing in female sports. Legal analysts expect the judges to clear the docket before heading into summer recess. The court is scheduled to convene at 10 Eastern this morning. Yesterday, the tribunal released rulings on presidential firing powers and mail-in ballot deadlines. Canada celebrates its 159th birthday tomorrow. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc will be marking just the 6th anniversary of CUSMA. He will be meeting with his American and Mexican counterparts. A critical deadline is coming up. Janice McGregor has been following the developments from our parliamentary bureau. And Janice, the minister has time and time again told us that July 1st is a checkpoint for the pact. What are you expecting this morning?
Tomorrow's not a negotiating round. This is a virtual meeting between LeBlanc and his counterparts, and it's only scheduled to run about an hour. So it's entirely possible that it's going to be one of those meetings where the big outcome is simply an agreement to keep talking. And to be clear, Canada's fine with that. Meeting on July 1st is a requirement written right into the treaty, but we know that the U.S. isn't prepared to renew it without fixing the parts it doesn't like. American negotiators are in the middle of several rounds with the Mexicans working towards that. But Mexico's president is on the record as saying she's not going to make a bilateral deal without Canada. Indeed, Canadian and Mexican officials are staying in close touch with each other's positions as the U.S. works towards side letters with each of them to amend the deal. Opening up the actual treaty, though, for a full renegotiation, that would require congressional approval. And yesterday, Canada's former negotiator, Steve Verhoeven, told a business event he doesn't expect a deal before U.S. midterm elections in November. Canadian officials are hoping the only fireworks we see tomorrow are celebrating Canada Day.
So what if Donald Trump bypasses the deadline?
Well, you never know when this president's going to go off, and I'm not going to try and get in his head either. But one of the points that David Patterson, the Ontario government's representative in Washington, has been making is how bad all this uncertainty is for business.
Probably the best thing that could happen to the U.S. economy right now would be a deal. But we have to make sure that the president agrees.
Premier Doug Ford is in the U.S. again this week, meeting with governors from Western states. Provinces are big players in the top-of-mind files for D.C. right now. Energy resources, electricity, fertilizer. Provincial roles in these talks likely to be a top agenda item when First Ministers meet in Charlottetown next month.
All right. Thank you, Janice.
You're welcome.
Janice McGregor in our Parliamentary Bureau. For the first time in 2 decades, a sitting prime minister will visit Kuujjuaq. Mark Carney is heading to the northern Quebec community today. He will meet with Inuit leaders while he's there. As Olivia Stefanovic tells us, the discussion is expected to focus on how Inuit priorities line up with Carney's agenda to build and secure the north.
We have wanted a prime minister to come and visit us in our part of the world.
And later today, that will become a reality with Prime Minister Mark Carney's trip to Kuujjuaq. Peter Adamy is the president of the Makivik Corporation, the legal and political representative for Quebec's Inuit.
It's very important to show our realities to the Prime Minister and to the ministers.
Carney is the first Prime Minister to visit Kuujjuaq in almost 20 years. The last was Stephen Harper in 2008.
And so I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm excited for it.
Natan Obed is the president of the Inuit Tapere Kanatami. He's co-chairing the Inuit Crown Partnership Committee meeting with Carney. From major infrastructure projects to ensuring Inuit benefit from the tens of billions of dollars slated to be spent on defense in the Arctic, Obed says there's a lot to discuss.
I think that our relationship is the most important thing. The relationship with the Prime Minister, with members of the Cabinet.
Inuit leaders are taking a charter flight from Montreal to meet Carney in Kuujjuaq with 6 members of his cabinet, including Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Rebecca Alty.
The Prime Minister is committed to getting out and going across Canada, and particularly the north.
A message Alty hopes will resonate with Inuit during a visit that comes just before Canada Day. Olivia Stefanovic, CBC News, Montreal.
That is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. How are you doing? Maybe a silly question. I know we still have fire evacuees from the north. We have people dealing with rain to the west and flooding around Boissevain and Brandon. We're getting everything this spring and summer. Thanks for joining us. Winnipeg this morning looking nice and clear and sunny, unlike yesterday's start to the day. I'm Marcy Marcusa, and you are with CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and on YouTube. Live from downtown Winnipeg. Well, this hour on the show, beyond the weather, we are going to be talking about a recent case in Manitoba's Court of Appeal. It is raising questions about the use of artificial intelligence in our province's courts. So stay tuned, we'll have a report about that. In addition, straight ahead, we're going to hear from a cattle farmer in southern Manitoba who's going to be talking about the NHL. That's because his son was just drafted to the Calgary Flames. We're going to hear from Carson Carl's father. Stay tuned. He went 6th overall in the draft on Friday. And they celebrated at the farm. So we'll hear more about that. Right now, let's go to Heather Wells, who has those news headlines I was talking about. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, parts of western Manitoba were drenched with rain yesterday. In Boissevain, Environment Canada says 152 millimeters fell. Ross McKellar watched it all come down from the campground where he was staying. He says at the age of 70, he has never seen that much rain in such a short period of time. We're going to hear from him. Thousands have signed a petition calling for a Brandon Elementary School principal to step down. It was launched by Lindsay Robinson after she heard about a 12-year-old boy who had been bullied while on a school field trip. His head was pushed into a toilet with human waste. We're going to hear what she has now been asked to do coming up in our next local news at 7:30.
All right. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Abby, what's up in the weather?
Yeah, we're still tracking the strong weather system bringing heavy rainfalls to parts of southern Manitoba. This morning we're talking about the Dauphin area towards the Minnedosa and Swan Valley. We're looking at heavy rainfall and, of course, thunderstorms, which will continue today. This is following overnight stall system over that region, and this will be adding additional additional 35 to 90 millimeters of water. So it's definitely going to be causing localized flooding in some areas. So be prepared for that. But for Winnipeg right now, 17 degrees outside. It's sunny. We're expecting a humid high of 24 today with some winds and a slim chance of showers later.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
May McKillop is here to talk about the commute. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm not hearing about anything going on in Winnipeg, but I'm super curious how the roads are on your morning commute. However, between the floods and the fires, there's lots to talk about on the highways. So highway number 5 from Neepawa to highway 261, headed north towards Riding Mountain National Park, is closed. That's in the Neepawa area on highway number 5. As well, there were reports last night of flooding on highway 16, both directions from Gladstone to Neepawa. So if you happen to be driving in the area, give me a call and let me know what you're seeing. And heading north briefly, just talking about the fires that are happening in northern Manitoba, Lynn Lake, highway 394 and highway 396 east from Lynn Lake towards the Saskatchewan border is closed. As well, highway 493 heading west out of Leaf Rapids is also closed due to fires. That's what I'm hearing so far. However, if you're driving along your commute, walking, busing, biking, I'm sure there's lots to talk about. So give me a call and I'll pass that message along to your fellow commuters. The number to call, 204-788-3093.
Well, from Cypress River, Manitoba to the big show, as I mentioned, we have something to celebrate in Manitoba. Have a listen to this clip. It's from the Friday. It's from the first round draft of the 2026 NHL draft on Sportsnet.
With the 6th overall pick in the 2026 NHL draft, the Calgary Flames are very proud to select from the Prince George Cougars, Carson Carrolls. Yes!
That's the sound of 18-year-old Carson Carrolls being drafted 6th overall, as you heard, to Calgary on Friday. But the 6'2" defenseman wasn't actually in New York for the big moment. Instead, he was here in Manitoba. He and his family were patched in live from the family cattle farm in Cypress River, which is about an hour and a half southwest of Winnipeg, just near Treeherne. Carson's dad, Ryan, had a front row lawn chair seat, and Ryan Carrolls joins us now from the family farm. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So what does it feel like when your kid's drafted? There's not that many people that can answer that question, Ryan.
It takes a little while to sink in. It was, you finally feel rewarded for all the hours of driving in vehicles we worn out.
I almost expect the parents sometimes to say that they're just still tired.
Yeah, still tired.
When did you see strength and talent in Ryan for hockey? How old was he when you guys really got into this?
Carson was probably 13, 14. He was always playing up a year or an age group around in Holland at our local community there. So once we got to that, he started traveling to train more in Winnipeg with Evolution Hockey, and they seen something in him too. So he kept on. He just loved the game, so he always wanted to be on the ice.
Yeah. Where does he get it from, do you think? Is anyone else in your family inclined toward hockey? Or
yeah, everybody we know plays hockey, so
yeah.
Lots of us are too busy on the farm to pursue it when we were younger and growing up, but gave him the opportunity, and so far so good.
I love these photos you shared with us. I mean, it's your whole family on the farm, lawn chairs, big crowds of people hugging him, and champagne, it looks like, at least being popped in, thrown in the air. Tell me a little bit about how special it was and why Carson and the family chose to be there, to be at home for this announcement that was potentially coming.
Well, we can't really plan a whole lot this time of year. We're finishing up calving, and we're hoping to be haying, but the weather's not permitting it yet, so that was one part, and then there's lots of family that wouldn't have been able to enjoy the moment in Buffalo, so he thought it was more important to be with family and friends than in the spotlight or cameras in Buffalo.
How does that make you feel, Dad, that he chose that?
Oh, that's good. That's how you raise him, and making decisions like that, you feel he's on the right path. So.
It's like a reward, right?
Yeah.
I love that. I love how he's hugging everybody. It's fantastic. Hockey, as you mentioned, been a big part of your family for a long time. You coached, I understand, every one of your 5 kids at some point in their lives. How did you manage all that and then, running the farm?
Yeah. A good wife, obviously. She's a big part of it. She does home care as well, so it's very, very busy. Lots of hours on the road, lots of handoffs and meals in the vehicle, but you make it work. You get used to it.
What were the quiet moments like after the celebration pictures that we've been enjoying that you shared with us this morning? What was it like for Carson that evening to sort of really come to terms with, I made it?
I had lots of phone calls for the first hour and some media and through Zoom, and then he didn't want to discuss too much till later, and then he just hung out with his friends and family and took it all in, kind of.
Yeah. And Calgary, a lot of social media posts because people are calling Carson a perfect fit for the Calgary Flames because he's an actual cowboy. They say, coming to cowboy country. How true is that?
Yeah, it's good. That's one of the reasons why he probably favored a Canadian market in the West here, Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg. It's just a lot more blue-collar than some other cities. So they kind of fit right in, I guess, with the fan base.
Does he already have a hat that he can wear? Hockey players always dress up when they're going into the arena, into the rink.
Yeah, I think he'll be wearing a hat most of the time. But.
Yeah, I wonder if he's already got a good cowboy hat or if he's going to pick that up when he goes.
Oh, Larry will probably give him one. Yeah.
The farm life that you're talking about, do you think it helped prepare him for this kind of success?
Yeah, I think even though he hasn't lived through lots of the stuff that we have, he's seen it growing up. So, I mean, you could have a good year and you don't, even if you're successful one year, you better kind of be careful and keep grinding and working hard because the year after might not be good. So it kind of humbles you to farm.
I know in addition to the NHL draft, Carson actually recently committed to play NCAA hockey for the University of North Dakota. So how does that actually work? What, he's going to have to make a decision or?
Yeah, they're in talks this week with the staff in Calgary, and he committed there. If they feel he needs a year or two of NCAA, that's where he's going. It's the closest option to home, so it's nice. And if they feel he can step in and start contributing to the team, they'll sign him, and he might be playing there next year. But this week is a big week for him. He's trying to prove that he's ready to play at the next level, I guess. So.
You guys already planning to head out to games?
Oh yeah, it's a quick flight out of Brandon or Winnipeg. Brandon's got a flight a day, so Calgary will be easy to get to for us. So.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, make that kid Cav, would you? And good luck with the rest of your farming and calving season, sincerely. I know that this morning you were telling our director, May, that you hadn't been that affected by the rain out that way last night. But obviously a lot of the fields we know are really wet in Southwest and underwater, and it's not an easy year for you.
No, we're just about right here, but we're thinking of everybody who's struggling for sure.
Yeah, I should have asked you. I'm going to go back to when you mentioned this cowboy hat action for your son. You said Larry, and I don't actually know who you're referring to.
Oh, Larry McDonald.
Oh.
The guy who announced it.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah, he gave him a hat in when he went to the Prospects games. They had, he was on the ice with him, so he met him once already. So in some of the pictures you'll see, I think he's in the Calgary, actually in the Saddle Dome there with this red cowboy hat that they all got. So
he's already covered.
Yeah, he's good.
All right. Well, good luck with the rest of the calving, as I said. Ryan, thanks so much for being with us on CBC this morning, and good luck to your son. Congrats to your family.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Bye.
Bye. Ryan Karls, the father of Carson Karls, who was recently drafted on Friday. He went 6th overall in the NHL draft. He will be headed to Calgary. Time right now is 7:22 a.m. And if you need a song to put a little pep in your step to start your morning, how about this? This is from Winnipegger Irvin Miller, Horsepower on CBC.
Seems like every time I love somebody, I just end up falling for a friend. I just can't settle down, don't know where my audacity is. 500 horsepower, anything less will get me there. I've got to go now, baby, ain't got no time to spare. So go ahead now, hear me yelling, raising hell till the break of day. I said my rambling days are behind me, but I'm heading backwards again. Yes, I am. If she could, I know she would. I got money and I'm trying to spend. Landlord ain't getting no rent. I cleaned out just not today. Never gonna change my ways. Here we are, raising hell to the break of day.
Irvin Miller, Horsepower. He will play tomorrow if you want to check him out at the Forks. He's part of the Canada Day programming, which we heard about in some detail a little earlier this morning on the show. Forks.com for more information. And CBC is going to be live as part of the Canada Day programming at the Forks as well. Come and shout out someone that's made a difference in your life in Canada. We'd love to hear about those unsung heroes. It is right now 17 degrees in Winnipeg. It's mostly sunny, actually. We've got a nice sky. Our high today, 24. It's going to be windy. Wind the story of the day here. Southwest 50 to 70. And we do still have a late afternoon risk of a thunderstorm as well here in Winnipeg. We'll hear more about the storms that moved through Manitoba again yesterday on your news at 7:30. Right now, let's talk sports with Scott Regehr. Good morning.
Hey, Marcy.
So we now know who Canada's going to face at the World Cup Saturday. It's not going to be easy. Give us some thoughts on what it's going to be like when we face Morocco.
If I'm being totally honest, it's a bit of a frightening prospect, given what I saw last night against the Netherlands, which, remember, is a country considered the best never to win a World Cup. The Moroccans, at times, Marcy, were just dominant. They had more than twice as much possession and more than twice as many shots as the Dutch. It did take penalty kicks to ultimately decide, but make no mistake, Morocco were the faster, better team on the evening. And their resume, remember, is not bad either. They made the semifinals at the last World Cup, the farthest an African side has ever gone. Coach Mohamed Ouabi was asked what comes next at this World Cup.
This group and that World Cup at Qatar have changed mindsets. Morocco and Moroccan players believe in themselves. The fans, too, they sense that we're capable of going far. Still, people might imagine that the next match will be easy, but that's not the case at all. It's Canada, and it's a team that will pose different challenges. But I think the key is knowing that if we do things right, no one is unbeatable.
For all of that, Canada's best hope is probably that the 6th-ranked Moroccans underestimate the 30th-ranked Canadians. If Alphonso Davies and Moise Bombito can play close to a full game on defense, if Stefostakio and Tajon Buchanan can control at least some of the game in midfield, and if Jonathan David can conjure a bit of magic up front, then you never know. But that's not the biggest if. That would be if Maxime Crepeau can outperform Yacine Bono in goal. Bono, who was born in Montreal, grew up in Casablanca, and has become one of the planet's top keepers since. So all of this is going to be a tall task, Marcy, and Atlas Mountain-like ascent for Canada. But upsets do happen. We saw that with Paraguay topping Germany yesterday, and we've all watched Capo Verde in this tournament, so you never know. There's still a chance with Canada meeting Morocco on Saturday. It's just not the biggest chance, I would say.
Well,
I don't want to be a doomsdayer either. I'm just trying to be realistic.
No,
about
anyone
it.
who watched that game yesterday, I mean, Morocco is like, wow. It was, they made Netherlands look like they were ranked, way lower.
Cheese comparison.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, no, for me, after France, Morocco should be the World Cup favorite with what I've seen.
The match Saturday is in a climate-controlled stadium in Houston. Not all games, though, this week are going to be so fortunate. Is that right?
Right. Matches held in open-air venues in Boston, KC, and Philadelphia, all set to experience extreme heat. Philly, for example, is expected to feel like 44 degrees Celsius. Concerns about this have been mounting for months, Marcy. Heat kills more people in the U.S. each year than all other weather-related events. It's why FIFA chose to introduce hydration breaks for the first time. Midway through each half, a 3-minute hiatus takes place where players can take in fluids and cool down. In temperature-controlled stadiums, fans have been booing the breaks, not understanding why they're necessary, an issue FIFA President Gianni Infantino addressed.
If we were to use hydration breaks only in those matches where it was too hot and not in the other matches, we would give an advantage to some of the teams. We want to have the same conditions for everyone. And I want to stress this because I hear as well it's about money or things like that. It is not. We don't make $1 more revenues. Broadcasters maybe, but for us, we make zero additional revenue.
Broadcasters, remember, pay FIFA billions for the right to air the World Cup, and broadcasters in turn make a small fortune from sponsors. So take everything Infantino says with a significant grain of salt.
What else are you watching today at the World Cup?
Well, have a listen to what it was like for the Ecuadorians in Mexico City at their hotel last night. All night long. Ecuador against co-host Mexico tonight. They'll be sleep deprived, and I think I just became a fan of their team given our early morning hours.
All right, thanks a lot, Scott. Take care. Happy Canada Day.
Yeah, you too.
That's Scott Reguer with Morning Sports. Your CBC News from Manitoba is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 7:30 at 17, we start the last day of June with lots of sunshine and then a few clouds moving in, slight chance of showers. Again, we might see a thunderstorm, a windy one with a high of 24. Well, parts of western Manitoba are mopping up this morning. Blasted with rain yesterday. In Boissevain, Environment Canada says 152 millimeters fell. Ross McKellar watched the downpour from the campground and could not believe what he was seeing.
It came together and it just poured here. I'm 70 years old and I haven't seen this much rain in that short a period. We're probably looking at 2 hours at the most.
McKellar worries for farmers and their fields, along with people whose homes were flooded. Environment Canada says Deloraine took on 128 millimeters, Minto had 114, and there were some powerful wind blasts as well, 106 kilometers an hour clocked in Morden. Now, the owner of Stead's Farm Supply Country Store in Boissevain is scrambling this morning to dry out his building. It has feed for everything from dogs to chickens. David Stead says there is one overhead door that usually leaks. Around 5:30, they were doing their best to keep the water from coming in that door.
Trouble is it came from 3 or 4 other directions, and by 5:30 it was obvious we couldn't stop it, and it came in. I would say it's probably, depending on what part of the store, but anywhere from 2-inch to 3-inch deep everywhere.
Stead says he got as much as he could up off the floor. Now he has to deal with humidity that could ruin his supply. Brandon city officials are taking stock of last night's downpour. Streets were flooded with roughly 50 millimeters of rain. Mayor Jeff Fawcett says it came down hard and fast.
Serious amount of rain in a very short period of time, which does back up the system.
Fawcett says the city has done drainage work in areas prone to flooding, but some areas like parts of Richmond Avenue are known for slow drainage. A Rossburn tornado victim says it feels like he is living in hell after a twister destroyed his heritage home. Brian Brown was in his shop Sunday evening when he noticed the wind pick up and went into the house to check on his wife. He says they both dropped to the floor as the twister tore off the roof.
Oh, it was scary. Like, I've never seen wind like that. It blew the two big windows in the front and the door all simultaneously, just blew them right in. And trees. Like the whole forest fell down. Whole forest fell all at once.
Brown says it took him and his wife 10 years to renovate that home and just 10 seconds for the tornado to destroy it. Brown says he will now check with his insurance agent to find out what can be salvaged. A decision from Manitoba's top court this month is raising concerns about the use of AI in court. The case involved a self-represented Brandon woman whose appeal filings, a judge said, appear to have been generated by AI gone awry. Experts say those kinds of cases seem to be on the rise, especially among people representing themselves without a lawyer. Leah Kozakowski is the CEO of the Law Society of Manitoba.
I expect that it will increase. People don't yet understand the risks involved in using it and the fact that it truly is unreliable.
Experts say the case highlights a larger issue with access to justice, with people who can't afford a lawyer feeling like they have no other option but to use AI to help them. You can hear more on this story coming up in this next half hour right here on Information Radio. Well, thousands have signed a petition calling for a Brandon Elementary School principal to step down. The petition was launched by Lindsay Robinson after she heard about a 12-year-old boy who had been bullied on a school field trip. The boy's head was pushed into a toilet with human waste. Robinson says her own son has been bullied as well, and she wants the division to know enough is enough.
There's 2,000 people that are calling for change, they're screaming for help. That Brandon School Division, and this is further than Brandon School Division, but Brandon School Division, our kids need help.
Robinson says Brandon School Division invited her to join a newly formed review panel of students, teachers, parents, and division leaders. The goal is to look for gaps in anti-bullying programs and to come up with new ideas. And the World Cup has sparked a huge wave of Canadian pride, especially this week as we mark Canada Day tomorrow with celebrations. The tournament, co-hosted by Toronto, Vancouver, and 14 other cities across the U.S. and Mexico, is also giving dual citizens a chance to celebrate their multiple loyalties. Mexican-Canadian Alex Garcia says even though it was sweltering last Wednesday, he still needed to wear two soccer jerseys, green for Mexico and red for Canada, when he cheered for both countries while watching their respective games at the FIFA Fan Festival in Vancouver. A sociology professor at UBC says the World Cup has given Canadians a stage to showcase a wholesome nationalism to the world. You can find the latest news updated throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
7:36 a.m. Let's get into the weather forecast. Abby, today, what do we know?
In summary, I'll just tell you this morning we're recovering from those overnight storms and we're expecting heavy rain to continue to impact western Manitoba this morning, while we're noticing haze and local smoke lingering over parts of northern Manitoba. For Winnipeg right now, 17, sunny outside, warming up to 24, and similar conditions we are seeing across the regions. We have heavy rain falling in the Dauphin area at this time, and also this is spreading towards the Power Flin Flon. But in Churchill, we're looking at temperatures around 4 degrees.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and May McKillop is in to tell us what's happening, mostly with closures, I think, right?
Well, no, we actually got a call about a tree down on Baylor Ave in Fort Richmond. That's between Bryn Mawr and Mount Allison. The tree is blocking the whole road, so you can't get past. You're going to have to detour to get through that road. There's yellow tape, but no one is on site yet. Also, we're looking at Highway number 5 from Neepawa to Highway 261 closed towards Riding Mountain National Park. Anything else going on out on the roads, give me a call and let me know The number to call is 204-788-3093.
All right, thank you. We've got some people writing in just talking about how much water there is all over the place. Farmers Field, Southwest Manitoba, as you've been hearing, it's just been crazy. So give us a call if you have something to report. We're keeping an eye, obviously, on Brandon this morning and seeing how Brandon, Boissevain, that corner in particular, are going to be in recovery mode today from all that rain. 23 minutes to 8 o'clock on 89.3. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is CBC. Well, next on the show, stains, rips, tears on clothing. They're all pretty common things, right? But sometimes you can scrub it out or sew it back up. Sometimes, though, you just don't even attempt that. And my next guest wants to change our mindset about clothing. Leonard Taylor is a local designer, of course, and he's teaching folks right now on Saturdays in a workshop how to give damaged clothing a second life. So these workshops are Saturdays through the summer, and he joins us in studio with a mannequin with a shirt on it and paint on it. Hello, Leonard.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Good. Why'd you start doing this with people?
So I've been a designer for 20 years, and my goal is to transform the way that you dress yourself. And straight up, if you're not putting on clothing that makes you feel great every single day, you're doing it wrong. Clothing is our armor. It's how we protect ourselves. It's how we feel really great. And it's that confidence booster that gives you that one up as soon as you put it on.
How do you feel when you think about people getting rid of clothing because of a stain they can't get out?
It saddens me. You know, we are destroying our planet on a rapid rate by just destroying and throwing out clothing from a simple blemish. We can transform it with a simple brush stroke, a little bit of paint, or just a little patch, something that is going to go a long way to make your garment last longer.
So let's slide over this shirt, actually, because I just want people to see the painting you've already got on there as well. So can you turn it just a little bit? Let's see. There it is. We can see a close-up. You have a white sort of tunic shirt, one of your pieces in, and then there's blue paint on it. And it's, have you actually painted that right onto the fabric?
I've painted that right onto the fabric.
Who is that? It's a guy with glasses.
No, it's a girl.
Oh, sorry.
Or is it a
about
guy?
that.
I don't know.
I don't
Who
know.
knows?
It's a person with glasses.
It's whatever. That's the beauty of art. It just interpretates in such a different way. And if you have a simple little blemish on your garment, a little stain or something like that,
a tiny little bit,
you can just add a little bit more paint onto your garment and make something beautiful.
Okay, so that's what you're doing. So imagine that you got like a spot on your shirt. Then Leonard's saying just start with that and then carry it down however you want and have fun and paint on your shirt. Now you can paint though. So what about people who say, I can't paint a face like that? Like you're doing some pretty incredible high-level art on that shirt right now.
Yeah, well, it's easy for me. I've been an artist my entire life.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of these classes. I'm telling people, you don't need any experience at all. You just need an enthusiasm to try to do something different. So you can see how on this one I just did a quick, simple little face.
Yep.
But I'll turn the shirt a little bit more and do one of the brush strokes that I was talking about. So say you have just a little stain on your garment.
Okay, so that's the size of like a, I don't know, dime, whatever.
Yeah, like that grease stain from that wonderful meal you had. So if you got something like that and you're not artistic, you can easily just take a brush stroke and go boom. And then maybe you just need to add another little one. Boom.
So the boom is just like literally taking the brush and pressing it thick and having it like as if you're painting a wall, but one short little stroke.
Yeah, just one short little stroke. And the thing is, if you leave just one stroke like that, it looks kind of funny. But if you add one, you add two, you add three, it looks like it was actually meant to be there. And now you're the only person that knows that garment had a curry stain or a grease stain underneath it. But you can do these simple little tips and tricks that can transform your garment instantly.
What kind of paint are you using?
So you can use an acrylic base. I'm using a simple house paint right now. My brother-in-law at Superior Paint Finishes, he had an amazing opportunity that he would make me paints for a while. And then I started using house paints. I don't recommend using oil paints because they will bleed. And here's the thing. It will chip off over time. It will break down, but that's an opportunity for you to transform it again and again and again and again and again.
But you got to pop down the paint there on the desk and show us your apron, because your apron is also a work of art. He's got an apron on to paint in, but it's like your smock apron, but it's like it's purples and blues, and yeah, we can see it. It turned into a lovely piece of art also.
Thank you.
With the splotches.
You should see my other one.
Tell me this story about this 8-year-old girl. I mean, you have a lot of stories of these workshops, but you had an 8-year-old come come through that really stayed with you. She transformed a jean jacket or something?
Yeah, she transformed a jean jacket, and it was so cute because she was so shy at the beginning, and she was with her mom, and it was just kind of this opportunity for her to grow. And at the end of the class, like, she was just beaming with excitement and happiness. And, you know, we took a picture together, and the mom was like, she just loved this. It was so fun. And that's the thing. Like, clothing transforms your mood, transforms your abilities, transforms your life. And then if you add a skill to it, it's like the person who goes, I can't draw, I can't do this. They come and they get outside of their comfort zone. They grow, they expand, right? So that's the whole point about this is get outside your comfort zone. Come check things out. I have a market from 11 to 5 every Saturday with different local makers, up to 15 makers I can hold in my yard, and then in my buildings even more. And that's the beautiful thing about Saturdays on Sherbrooke Street is that it's just this fun, exciting place that you can come, chill out, check out art, be inspired, and learn a little new skill. Even if you have absolutely no artistic talent in your own mind, everybody's artistic. It's just whether you try. And
is there a best place to paint on a shirt? Like, I mean, would you be staying away from the collar because you're going to sweat it off? Or do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I look at it as there's always an opportunity to paint. You know, there's no right or wrong way to do something. And people are like, oh, well, what if I screw it up? It's like, well, then just keep going. You know, I wouldn't recommend going right around the collar. Anywhere where it's going to be touching your skin directly is going to be, you know, a little bit of a no-no because it's going to be itchy, scratchy, right?
Yep.
And I would say that the best thing you can do is just try it. And try again, and try again, and try again. Rome wasn't built in a day. Picasso didn't make a painting in a day.
Do you have any other tips with the brush strokes? So the thick, simple ones, obviously you were doing some detailed ones. Any other tips with how to make a pattern?
Yeah, so you can take a simple sponge and cut it into any sort of shape that you want to do, and just like boom, 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 boom.
We got to go back to like, when you're saying all this stuff, it's like, of course, but when's the last time I did a craft like that though, you know?
Well, exactly, and had the opportunity, you know? And that's the beautiful thing about coming to Saturdays at 2 p.m. on Sherbrooke Street is that you have the opportunity and the space to do it.
So can people just bring their things down then, or how does it work?
Yeah, they can bring down a shirt or a jacket, jeans, whatever you want to paint on. Bring it down. If you want to buy something from me, that's fine too. And then the West Broadway Biz gave me a small honorarium to be able to make these classes happen. So that covers a little bit of the cost of the paint and a little bit of cost of doing this. To be honest, it's not enough to cover my costs and to do it all, but you know what? Out of the goodness of my heart, I want to see this industry. I want to see Winnipeg come down and do something different for once. Get outside your comfort zone and grow, because that's the beautiful thing in life.
You're also teaching, I mean, it's not just about painting. You look at reworking and patching and mending. What are most people's attitudes when it comes to mending and stitching in 2026?
They're scared. Everyone's scared of doing a simple stitch. They're like, I don't know how to do it. And literally for thousands of years, people have been mending their clothing. And then all of a sudden we got fast fashion and they were told, you can't do this. You can't do this. Anyone can sew, which is why there's, you know, I have in my yard 9 different sculptures that are 8 feet by 4 feet that are a tribute to reawakening people to understand that there's over 140 million children forced to work in the clothing industry every year. If simple kids can sew, anyone can do it.
You start sewing too.
You can start sewing. Anyone can do this.
What are the sculptures of to represent this?
So these are massive installation sculptures that I've been working on for about 6 years. A part of a massive installation where I want people to come. I want them to learn about the fast fashion industry and how awful it is and all the atrocities. And then I want you to go through a transformational light tunnel into the beautiful of how we transform it. So you think about a documentary. Like you watch a documentary and 90% of the time, the documentary leaves you feeling terrible about yourself and the world. So I want you to feel terrible. I want you to look at these sculptures and be afraid, be scared. And then understand that we can change it. We can do these simple things to transform it. Like coming to a class to learn how you can paint over top of your clothes, learn to mend your clothes all in one spot. That's like my long-term goal.
Your installation sounds super interesting as well. So you're doing this through the summer. I understand, obviously it's free. It is from 2 to 3 o'clock specifically
Correct,
on Saturdays?
Yes.
Okay, so what's the address? 67 Sherbrooke?
67 Sherbrooke. If you're coming over the bridge, the Misericordia Hospital's on your left, and then then I'm just past that on the right-hand side. Bistro Dansk is right next to me. Tom Bargain's across the street. Hudson Bagels. If you hit Hudson Bagels, you've gone too far. So I'm on the right-hand side of Sherbrooke Street, 67 Sherbrooke Street.
It's a nice little local pocket of Winnipeg.
Oh, it's the most transforming neighborhood right now. If you haven't come down to Sherbrooke Street, you owe it to yourself to just come and walk this neighborhood. It's absolutely tremendous. And it's one of those neighborhoods that is like the up-and-coming spot. It's like, it warms your heart. Come check it out on Sherbrooke.
Thanks for coming in to tell us about these workshops. Love it. And for showing off your beautiful painting skills. That's amazing. Turn that around as we go here. We just got to see the painting in the front already. I could never do that. That's amazing.
Yes, you can.
Okay. Maybe the ones on the back, maybe the simple ones. Leonard, nice to see you.
Pleasure to be here, darling.
That is Leonard Taylor, local fashion designer, taking his art and artistic abilities to the next level and sharing with community. So his classes are every Saturday through the summer on 67 Sherbrooke right there, and they run through September. 2 to 3 o'clock is the hour. So you can check out more. You can also learn more about Sherbrooke and what's growing in that part of Winnipeg as well online.
On the topics that matter, your voice should be heard.
It looks like this is maybe a one-day blip when farmers across the province need hot and dry.
Radio Noon is where you can voice your take.
In general, it's harder to find a job even if you're educated.
I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. From 12:15 to 1 p.m., Radio Noon opens the phone lines on one important topic.
When I was 5 or 6, my parents gave me seeds and helped me plant them. That was probably close to 70 years ago. And here I am still gardening.
It just brings everyone together. Radio Noon's call-in segment, 204-780-0893. We want to hear from you weekdays on CBC.
Hi, Canada. I'm Andrea Martin.
Hi, I'm Tom Green. Hi, I'm Chef Sicily.
Hey, what's up? It's Andrew Fung.
This Canada Day, we are turning over the mic, and we want to hear from you.
I want to shout out.
I'd like to give a shout out.
Tell us about a fellow Canadian who's changed your life, whether they've helped you move a couch or move a mountain. Shout out, Canada.
I want to give a shout out to Tony Duffenay, who was my high school drama teacher.
I want to shout out my late mother, Lucine Bailey.
Email us at ask@cbc.ca, and you could see your shout out on air during our special all-day programming on Canada Day.
So that is tomorrow, and we're going to be representing Manitoba live from the Forks. Corey Funk and I are going to be there heading into that live national show. You've already been writing to us about your shout-outs. I love that. Keep that coming on my Facebook page, please. Marcy Marcusa. Well, at first glance, a recent Manitoba Appeal Court filing might have seemed pretty standard, but as you might have been hearing in the news, lawyers soon realized there was a problem. A Manitoba woman who represented herself in court is accused of citing legal cases that may not have existed. In a decision this month, the Court of Appeal of Manitoba said those materials seem to have been generated, quote, by some form of artificial intelligence gone awry, end quote. Now, experts say that the case doesn't come as a surprise. It shows us a clear example of access to justice issues in Manitoba and across the country. The CBC's Caitlin Gowerluck is here with more. Good morning.
Good morning.
So this is so interesting. Tell us about the case. What does it involve? Why were there concerns raised about AI?
So it started off as a foreclosure case in Brandon. A woman that was involved was self-representing. She didn't have a lawyer, and a judge initially at the Court of King's Bench level ruled against her. So she then challenged that judge's decision at the appeal court level, and she filed a document called the Factum in the Court of Appeal in January. So that was about a 30-page document. It sort of outlined her arguments. Here's some examples of case law that she says supported those arguments. But then when the bank's lawyers started kind of going through line by line each of those cases, they had some concerns. And specifically, they say that the woman misquoted some paragraphs she said were from case law. She improperly summarized other decisions, sort of said it says this, and it really didn't say that. And in some instances, she cited cases that just didn't seem to exist. So this is a phenomenon we've heard about happening in other places outside Manitoba. We sometimes call them AI hallucinations, and it's when AI just gets it wrong. It maybe makes up facts, or in this case, makes up case law. Experts I spoke to said they weren't surprised to hear this happen, and that includes the Law Society of Manitoba's executive director, Leah Kozakowski.
I don't want to overstate it. I expect that it will increase. I think it's because of the proliferation of artificial intelligence. It's a new tool mostly. And people don't yet understand the risks involved in using it and the fact that it truly is unreliable.
Well, some of the experts that you spoke to for the story said this case highlights bigger issues within the justice system. What can you tell us about that?
One of the biggest issues that came up when I was talking to people for this story was access to justice. And specifically, what I mean by that is how barriers like the high cost of hiring a lawyer for something like this and a lack of other resources through options like legal aid can result in this justice system that often relies on people to represent themselves in court. And that can leave those people who aren't trained as lawyers feeling like using AI to try to prepare these sometimes complex legal documents is their best bet. Here's Manitoba prosecutor Ben Wickstrom on that. He's also vice president of prosecutions at the Manitoba Association of Crown Attorneys.
They're looking for ways to make the best argument for themselves. And there's this technology that's out there that is sort of purporting to be able to put it all together. And certainly when you feed the information in and what you get out on the other side, it certainly can sound like a sound legal argument. But at the end of the day, what that case shows us is that there isn't a coherent argument that necessarily is being spit out at the end of an AI prompt.
And we know, Marcy, that woman we've been talking about in this recent Manitoba appeal case isn't the only one who's been reprimanded in some way for using AI in their court filings. There have been headlines across this country and other countries of even lawyers being caught misusing AI in this way. In fact, there's actually been a lawyer here in this province put under supervision after being caught doing something similar. But some numbers suggest that most of the people, there are some lawyers, but most of the people involved in these kinds of cases are self-represented. Another person I talked to for this story was Toronto lawyer Tom McIntosh Zhang. He runs a website called Court Ready, and it has legal tools, including a database of some of these AI hallucinations that have come up in Canadian court cases. That database has over 300 entries, and more than 80% of them are people representing themselves. Here's what McIntosh Zhang says about that.
These folks are using AI largely in part because they cannot afford a lawyer. And so they're relying on it, and AI, as many of us have used it, can be very convincing and can give you an answer that does sound like it is the truth. But in these cases, you see that they're not.
For someone who's having to represent themselves in court, what are some of the risks of using AI?
Well, for one thing, you could end up in some trouble if you're found out, like in this case. And in this case, the decision from the Court of Appeal sort of reprimanded the woman. They said this isn't acceptable. But in other cases, in other regions, people have been fined and had to pay money for doing things like this. And that's in part because of the extra strain that this can put on courts and lawyers who already have really high caseloads and are now having to then spend all this extra time looking up case law that might not even exist. And another lawyer I spoke to suggested you could actually end up undermining your own case if you do this and you're caught. Here's Christopher Gamby, Communications Director for the Criminal Defense Lawyers Association of Manitoba.
At the very least, I think that it's going to throw some cold water on whatever argument you're trying to make if there's a bunch of false citations in there, and probably get your entire case looked at a bit side-eyed by whatever body it is that's hearing it.
How do you address it, though? Because how do you get people to stop using AI that maybe unknowingly brings fake case into the law courts?
It's a question that I think a lot of people are asking right now. And the overarching theme, at least from what I heard from the people I talked to for this story, is that if these people are using these AI tools in good faith, they're not trying to do something wrong, they're doing it because they feel they don't have any other options, then more needs to be done to educate them about what the risks are. And to be fair, Manitoba's courts have taken some steps to respond to the rise of AI. The Court of King's Bench, for example, back in 2023 issued a practice direction requiring disclosure of AI use. And more recently, that court also developed a committee to create some guidelines for AI use. But a court spokesperson said Manitoba's provincial and appeal courts, where this case happened, are still in the process of exploring a response to AI. And for someone like Tom McIntosh Zhang, who created that database, he's seeing more and more cases all the time fill up that database, and he says the path forward is clear.
The data shows that despite the courts sanctioning folks and putting out rules after rule and practice direction after practice direction, the trend has not stopped. It has, in fact, accelerated. And so for the Manitoba courts, it is time to start educating folks about what the risks are.
Well, this morning's a start. Thank you for your report, Caitlin.
Thanks for having me.
Caitlin Garlick, a reporter with CBC Manitoba. If you want to read more about this, go to our website, cbc.ca/Manitoba. Quick mention here of what's coming up after 8. We're going to hear from CBC producer Leonard Monkman about HIV rates in Indigenous communities. He has just finished a 1-year health fellowship about this. He's produced a documentary that was just released this past weekend, and we're going to hear more about what he found about the high rates of HIV within Indigenous communities. So stay tuned. He met a lot of people across this province and learned a whole lot about it. So stay tuned. That's after 8 o'clock. Leonard will be in studio. It is right now 17 degrees. We're headed for 24, windy day and a chance of a thunderstorm again this afternoon. We will get into traffic details after our news headlines from Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, parts of Western Manitoba just keep getting soaked. In Boissevain, Environment Canada says 152 millimeters of rain fell by 8 o'clock last night. Ross McKellar was camping. He watched the downpour and says at the age of 70, he's never seen so much rain in such a short period of time. We're going to hear about wind damage as well here in Winnipeg coming up at 8:30. And thousands have signed a petition calling for a Brandon Elementary School principal to step down. It was launched by Lindsay Robinson after she heard about a 12-year-old boy who was bullied while on a school field trip. Those stories and more in our next local news at 8:30.
So eastbound Narran approaching where it turns into Regent there, like around Transcona area, you're looking at a fire truck that is causing some challenge in that neighborhood. Otherwise in traffic, check 511 in your flood and fire zones before. We do have some highway closures that continue today. And 788-3093 is where you can reach May McKillop with any other updates. It is coming up to 8 o'clock, 1 minute to. Thanks for being with CBC this morning, and stay right here. World Report is next.
Today on Q. Deborah Cox is one of the most celebrated voices in Canadian music, but she'll be here to tell you about starting out as a backup singer for Celine Dion in the 90s.
Real cool, professional, and again, kind.
And now singing one of Celine's biggest hits in a new big Broadway smash hit. Deborah Cox will be here.
Q with Tom Power. This morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current.
I'm Pia Chattopadhyay. A proposed data center has a lot of people upset in Utah, and the project is spearheaded by Canadian celebrity investor Kevin O'Leary. How AI is becoming a lightning rod. That's coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. A wildfire near Fort Simpson, Northwest Territories, is intensifying. The out-of-control fire is headed directly toward town. Wind fueled the fire, and it made a sudden turn. As Kate Kyle tells us, officials have issued an emergency shelter-in-place order for anyone still there.
Shelter-in-place order. Fort Simpson. All remaining residents and emergency essential personnel must shelter in place at the recreation center.
Just before 7 p.m. local time, the alert rang out. Anyone left in the village of Fort Simpson must shelter in place. The warning means the wildfire now poses an immediate threat to the community. Forrest Tower is a fire information officer in Fort Simpson.
There is a likelihood that we do have fire impact into the community. Into the overnight period, it's just so dependent on wind speed and wind direction.
The village and wildfire officials had been preparing for the wind to turn, blowing toward the community. The rec center is set up to shelter community members.
It got dark really fast.
Fort Simpson's Mayor Les Wright said about 800 residents have left. Shortly after the order was called, Wright said the wind changed again.
I have not seen any hot spots or anything yet. The wind did just change like 10 minutes ago, blowing away from the island, so that's a good thing.
Forrest Tower says it's been hard to assess what the fire is doing because there's so much smoke.
We might, get lucky and it could get really close in some areas and have minimal impact. Worst case scenario, we have fire enter the entire community. So really hard still at this point to say what is going to happen.
The village and wildfire officials are prepared if the situation worsens. Kate Kyle, CBC News, Yellowknife.
The U.S. Supreme Court is expected to hand down its final decisions this morning before going to summer break. The justices have 4 cases left on their docket. Sasha Petrusek has been following the Supreme Court for us from Washington. And Sasha, there are 2 highly anticipated rulings on transgender athletes and birthright citizenship. What do we know about these cases?
Well, Marcia, there's been a great deal of anticipation here for both of those cases in particular. Birthright citizenship is the main one. Until now, that concept has been protected by the U.S. Constitution, the 14th Amendment. The idea is that there's automatic citizenship granted to nearly everyone born in the United States, regardless of the citizenship of the child's parents. Until now, that hasn't been an issue. Now, President Donald Trump has been calling it a disgrace. Others in the White House have been calling it preposterous and the dumbest immigration policy in the world. And Trump has actually claimed that no other country does this. Canada, of course, has very similar policies. This is something that many people within the MAGA movement that supports Trump have been backing, primarily because they think it has been a pathway to illegal immigration in this country. The other big question, the other big ruling that everyone's expecting is on transgender rights. And that is a question of ruling on state bans on transgender athletes who play on women's sports teams. 29 states have banned transgender student athletes from this sort of participation. Supporters of the ban say they're necessary to ensure fairness, and the opponents are saying that they discriminate against trans people. The courts will be ruling. And on this one, many of the conservative judges have said that they're not sure that this is something that should be allowed at this stage because there isn't enough scientific evidence to show what impact that actually has.
Thank you, Sasha.
You're welcome.
Sasha Petrusek in Washington, in Venezuela. A 12-year-old boy is pulled out of the rubble of a collapsed building. His rescue comes 5 days after the back-to-back earthquakes. More than 1,700 people are dead, and the strong aftershocks are slowing down search and rescue operations. Tens of thousands of people are considered to be missing, and the humanitarian crisis is growing. Many people have been forced to sleep outside. Several countries have sent help, Canada included. Police have been deployed across South Africa for anti-immigrant protests. Demonstrators are calling for all undocumented migrants to leave the country today. Many have already left, fearing xenophobic violence. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has warned protesters to remain peaceful. The CBC's Anna Cunningham is following the latest developments.
For months, protests have been growing.
We're actually sick and tired of the crime committed against South African citizens at the hands of foreigners who are entering the country illegally.
On Monday, in the South African township of Soweto, one protest leader, Nkosi Kona Ndabandaba, told crowds, South African people are saying only that illegal foreigners must go. Today is the deadline they have set.
This is an issue which we have taken too long as government to address,
says Tamsanqa Ntuli, the KwaZulu-Natal Premier. In the southeastern city of Durban, groups are gathering. Many in traditional Zulu dress carrying indigenous sticks and shields, singing and chanting Abahambe, meaning let them go, as security forces keep watch. In recent weeks, at least 2 Mozambicans, an Ethiopian and a Malawian, have been killed in anti-immigrant violence.
The data does not correspond with the deeply entrenched perceptions.
Ongama Mtika is a lecturer in history and political studies at Nelson Mandela University. He says the very basis of the South African economy has been migrant labour. The governments of Nigeria, Malawi, Ghana, Mozambique and Zimbabwe have organised repatriations of their citizens. Many seen boarding buses and planes loaded with bags. Anna Cunningham, CBC News, London.
M23 rebel leaders in the Democratic Republic of Congo say they have managed an Ebola outbreak in the areas under their control.
Au cours de cette période de riposte, 400 personnes contacts.
A spokesperson for the militants says they have done their own contact tracing and monitored about 400 people. He says no new infections have been detected. The World Health Organization has warned instability in eastern DRC makes it difficult to manage the broader outbreak. There have been more than 1,300 Ebola cases and almost 400 deaths since the outbreak began in mid-May. For the first time in 2 decades, a sitting prime minister will visit Kuujjuaq. Mark Carney is heading to the northern Quebec community today. He will meet with Inuit leaders while he is there. As Olivia Stefanovic tells us, the discussion is expected to focus on how Inuit priorities line up with Carney's agenda to build and secure the north.
We have wanted a prime minister to come and visit us in our part of the world.
And later today, that will become a reality with Prime Minister Mark Carney's trip to Kuujjuaq. Peter Adamy is the president of the Makivik Corporation, the legal and political representative for Quebec's Inuit.
It's very important to show our realities to the Prime Minister and to the ministers.
Carney is the first Prime Minister to visit Kuujjuaq in almost 20 years. The last was Stephen Harper in 2008.
And so I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm excited for it.
Natan Obed is the president of the Inuit Tepery Kanatami. He's co-chairing the Inuit Crown Partnership Committee meeting with Carney. From major infrastructure projects to ensuring Inuit benefit from the tens of billions of dollars slated to be spent on defense in the Arctic, Obed says there's a lot to discuss.
I think that our relationship is the most important thing. The relationship with the Prime Minister, with members of the Cabinet.
Inuit leaders are taking a charter flight from Montreal to meet Carney in Kuujjuaq with 6 members of his cabinet, including Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Rebecca Alty.
The Prime Minister is committed to getting out and going across Canada and particularly the north.
A message Alty hopes will resonate with Inuit during a visit that comes just before Canada Day. Olivia Stefanovic, CBC News, Montreal.
Moroccan fans celebrate their team's win at the World Cup. They took down the Netherlands in extra time last night. That means Morocco will be Canada's opponent in the round of 16. Canada has a scheduled rest day today to prepare for their next match. It happens in Houston Saturday afternoon. Kickoff is at 1 p.m. Eastern. That is the latest national and international news from World Report. For News Anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday morning, last day of June. You're on CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and on YouTube. Well, we've had enough rain, Manitoba. Unfortunately, we still are going to be getting more. We still have some warnings out there for parts of the province. Incredible amounts fell in southwestern Manitoba yesterday and in parts of Winnipeg. We're just getting some stories out this morning about some pockets of heavy rain and damage. We'll walk you through all that this half hour. Also coming up on 89.3 FM, as we've reported in the news, Manitoba and Saskatchewan lead the country in new HIV rates, and Indigenous people are being disproportionately affected. We're going to talk with CBC producer Leonard Monkman. He's been looking at the issue for the last year. He recently came out with a new documentary about it, and he's here to tell us about the people he met. Stay tuned. Heather Wells is in with other headlines. First, good morning.
Good morning. Well, summer storms just keep hitting southern Manitoba. In Winnipeg, the roof of a house in White Ridge collapsed. It was blown into the attached garage. A tree in the same yard just torn out of the ground by its roots. We're going to hear more about what happened there. Also, Boissevain was drenched with the most rain out of last night's storms, 152 millimeters. The owner of Stead's Farm Supply Country Store in Boissevain is scrambling this morning trying to dry out his building after the heavy rain got in through an overhead door. So we'll give you a wrap on all the weather. As well, a decision from Manitoba's top court this month is raising concerns about the use of AI in court. Those stories and more coming up at 8:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Well, speaking of the weather in the city, I just have to talk to Leonard Monkman for a second here. Leonard's in to talk about his documentary, as I said, but you live in West Kildone and you posted this video on Facebook. I'm looking at it right now. This rain is like you can't even see through the trees. There was so much. What time was this in your neighborhood?
I think it must have been around 8 o'clock. We looked outside, or we were inside the house looking through, watching the rain, and then all of a sudden we look in the backyard, and the tree is like literally right up on the side of our house, and so we've got a nice apple tree in our backyard, and the apple tree is completely like split in half and it's on the ground on my son's little playhouse.
You had a nice apple tree.
I had a nice apple tree. It was no longer.
Are these people biking through the lightning in the rain? They got caught out there?
So that one was something that was posted from somebody in the North End. There's somebody there with 2 bikes that's going through the rain in torrential rain.
Cycling through. Oh my gosh. It's crazy. A lot of systems had trouble keeping up. Trees down. We're hearing that actually in parts of the city. And then this incredible story about this roof coming off. Megan Ketcherson, as you heard Heather say, is headed to the scene in White Ridge. It's really severe. It's not just a few shingles. So we're going to hear more about that. We'll get the images to you as well on our website. Right now, let's talk about today. Abby, we kind of are lucking out in Winnipeg because we've got blue sky out our studio window here.
Yes, we got blue sky and sunny conditions outside in the city at this time. But if you look towards the Dauphin area, we have a heavy rain really coming down in that part of the province. Hence, that region actually covered with this orange level yellow rainfall warning in effect for that part of Western Manitoba, stretching from Dauphin, Russell, Minnedosa, all the way towards the Swan River this morning. Heavy rain and thunderstorms, main story for the day. It's going to continue as the systems keep stalling in that part of the province. So it means you're going to get more rain today. We're looking at additional 35 to 90 millimeters of water coming that way. So look out for localized flooding. And of course, some roads could get completely flooded out. So be prepared for that. Be safe out there. For Winnipeg, it's sunny outside, 17 at this time. We're expecting a high of 24 today. And that's what the situation would look like for even the Pembina Valley region and the Westman region. But up north, we still have to talk about the local smoke in that part of the province. Temperatures between 16 and 17 at this time.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
I'm just looking currently here. Heavy rain reported at the Paw right now. And rain, as Abby mentioned, in Dauphin. May McKillop, what's going on in the commute?
I'm going to start with some good news. We've been talking about highway number 5. We need some good news, and I got a long list ahead of me, so let's start with the good stuff. Highway 5 from Neepawa to Highway 261 is now reopened, as well as Highway 16 from Neepawa to Gladstone, reopened. That is good news. However, I have a long list of closures and what is still closed due to water. I'll read a few of them. The highways that still remain closed due to flooding, Highway 10 from Highway 488, Highway 10 kilometers east of Swan River is washed out, Highway 83 at Shell River. A lot of closures. You can check Manitoba 511. If you're traveling through an area that got a lot of rain, I'd highly recommend doing that before you get out on the road. Looking at the city here, eastbound Nairn, where it turns into Regent, there's a fire truck in the curb lane. As well, trees. We're seeing a lot of trees down or debris. We got a call about the bike lane on Kenniston between Scurfield and McGillivray. The caller said that there is a lot of tree debris in the bike lane from the storm, so watch out there. And a tree down on Baylor Ave between Bryn Mawr and Mount Allison. The tree is blocking the whole road. So that's what I'm hearing about so far as well. A couple road closures, highway closures up north because of the fire. Lynn Lake, Highway 394 and 396 towards the Saskatchewan border are closed as well, heading west out of Leaf Rapids on Highway 493. It is closed. Check Manitoba 511 for highway conditions if you're traveling and give me a call about anything else going on the commute. That number to call, 204-788-3093.
We're going home to Lake Man. We're going to talk about HIV.
What are you hoping the community
takes from your story today?
Just to have an open mind and listen and take this HIV serious, because maybe they know someone that has it, maybe their family member, and they don't know how to have those conversations with them.
That is a clip from the documentary that we've been mentioning, and that was Vanessa Roulette. She is one of the people featured in a short documentary that was produced by CBC's Leonard Monkman, who is in studio with us, as you've heard. Leonard's been working on this one-year fellowship looking at HIV rates in Manitoba and Saskatchewan, and what he found is Indigenous people are overrepresented in HIV data in the province. According to the Manitoba HIV Annual Report, 7 out of 10 people who were admitted into the HIV program were self-identifying as Indigenous. Leonard is here to talk more about it. Thanks for being here to talk about your work. A year's a long time to look at something.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Yeah. And that clip obviously was emotional. Can you tell us a little bit more about Vanessa?
So Vanessa is from Lake Manitoba First Nation, the same community as me. She's been through a lot of different things in her life, a lot of challenges. Grew up in CFS and, struggled with addiction. And through the interviews that we had, she was telling me that she was wandering around the streets of Winnipeg, living in encampments, and kind of just gave up on life at a particular point. Here's what she said about when she found out that she was living with HIV.
This one day, there is no needles, and there is only dirty needles. And I want to get high so bad, so I took that needle, I went and rinsed it off, I cleaned it with water, I put my meth in there, and I shot it up. 3 weeks after that, I remember I got really sick. I was, I couldn't keep food down, I looked so pale. I went to Street Connections because that's where I had to go and get my, to meet this nurse, Blair. Your STDs and stuff came back and you're negative, but you're HIV positive.
So that clip was from a shoot that we did in December. In December, we went to our community, Lake Manitoba. It was our second time going out and doing public speaking. And when I announced that I got the fellowship last June,
a health fellowship, yeah,
the Indigenous Health Fellowship, and specifically around HIV, she was the very first person to reach out to me and was like, "Hey, I've got a story to tell." And we started going for coffee. We started meeting all the time, and I have learned so much about HIV from the conversations that we have had together. How do you get it? How do you not get it? And just kind of the stigma that she was facing from people back home, people in the community, but also kind of this self-stigma that exists, right? Am I going to be okay with going to somebody's house? I don't feel comfortable with going to my relative's house. I haven't talked to certain relatives in a certain amount of time.
And were they comfortable with her, or how did that stigma come back the other way?
I think it kind of goes both ways, right? People, somebody was like, "How do you feel about sitting in the car in that first opening clip?" And I was like, I don't really think about it because
someone asked you that.
Yeah, and other people do think about it that way. And so, that was one of the big things, was kind of addressing the stigma that exists within our communities.
There's a lot of education that is missing there. You've been looking into the story for years, as we mentioned. Tell us a little bit more about what you found.
It is hard to tell these types of stories. One of the things, when we're looking at HIV, there's this big issue. How do you narrow it down? And so through a lot of the data that we're seeing, I needed to figure out, how do we address the stigma? How do we create something that is going to resonate within our own communities? And within Manitoba, the data shows that, kind of around 2016 is when we start to see a spike within HIV rates, especially within Indigenous communities, which is kind of around the same time that meth starts getting really heavy, 2016. And around 2018, 2021, that's when we're really starting to see a spike in HIV rates and Indigenous people being overrepresented in the data. And so I spoke to Dr. Marcia Anderson about this. She's a public health physician. Here's what she had to say.
The issue is important to me because of who is predominantly being impacted. And for several years now, we've known that in Manitoba, more new cases are happening in Indigenous women who are perhaps precariously housed, who have significant economic insecurity, who maybe use IV drugs, and who are pretty disconnected from health and social systems, who experience the most extreme forms of marginalization in society.
It's interesting because as you were talking about how this is represented, I know your report also says in other provinces, with the exception of Saskatchewan, HIV is a disease that affects primarily men, cis men who have sex with men. But in Manitoba, it's different.
Yeah, so
Oh, we're just going to get your mic on.
in other provinces, like if you look at the graph, like from the country, it's like 5, 2, 3, 4 in like places like Ontario, Alberta, Northwest Territories, and then when you get into Manitoba and Saskatchewan, is 19.5, 18.6 or something around that. So Manitoba and Saskatchewan have 3.5 times the national average of new cases per year, and Indigenous people are being predominantly or disproportionately affected in these communities.
In the numbers.
Yeah.
Now, in May, Manitoba announced a public health emergency about this. What else did Marcia Anderson have to share about it, given that context?
She told me that the governments and like the healthcare system are going to have to figure out a way to do a better job of reaching people where they're at. The main causes of transmission here in the province are heterosexual sex, 1, and IV drug usage, 2. And so what she was saying is that there's a lot of people that are out there that don't necessarily know that they have it. And so it's going to be up to communities to figure out, okay, well, how do we get more and more people tested? But not only that, how do we get them onto better pathways to treatment? And so what that means is like getting them onto their medication, making sure that they're taken care of, and doing that in a culturally safe way.
And when it comes to getting tested, what did Dr. Anderson say about that and how to improve that?
So one thing that's interesting, like we did have the public health emergency that happened in May. June 27th was National HIV Testing Day. I know that there was a testing blitz that kind of happened in the Prairie Mountain Health region. I think there was something in Brandon. I don't know if I saw anything that was happening here specifically in Winnipeg. And so, you know, a lot of people are moving back and forth. And if people are coming to Winnipeg, like we need to be aware of like people's status. And so there is a place called the Minopamatsuan Sexual Wellness Lodge. They do have self-testing kits. They have nurses there. They have culturally safe care that exists within the community. And so what she says is the proper way to deal with the HIV situation is that there needs to be a multi-pronged approach that gets people tested, gets them culturally sensitive care, and then gets them onto medication so they can be undetectable or untransmissible.
I want to mention here, I'm going to ask about your fellowship overall, you know, but I do want to mention, and I hope this is okay, that Vanessa, who you started with, is actually here watching.
Yeah.
She's in the control room. Hi, Vanessa. I mean, so much courage for her to, as you said, be one of the first to say, yeah, learn through me. I'm going to share my story with you. What's your year been like hearing stories? This was all about hearing stories and hearing courage like hers, right?
Yeah, you know what? It's been one of the best years of my professional career at the CBC or just doing journalism in general, like being able to have the time to create and build relationships. Like I called it Zongadewin Stories of Courage, and Zongadewin translates to courage in Ojibwe. You know, there's so many people that ghosted me for interviews, for meetups and stuff like that. Like I tried really hard to get somebody that was a heterosexual male to come out and say, here's my story, I'm going to share it. It's a story that's underrepresented in the data, right? And with all of the HIV stories that you look at over the past few years, it's numbers. People don't relate to numbers. People don't, they relate to stories. They relate to other people, right? And so, you know, trying to get people to come out and share their story in a public way, if it feels like it's new in Manitoba, then we need people that Manitobans can see, where we can say, you know what, here's how people are getting it. And it's really the result of, you know, Marcia Anderson calls it, it's a result of colonization. The people that are most at risk of getting HIV are the people that we see struggling on the streets. It's the people that are in encampments. It's the people that are living in poverty. It's the people that are using drugs. And so, you know, some of the advocates from like Leslie Spillett says, you know, in order to address this in a real way, we need to make sure that we do have better housing. We need to have better food security. We need to have better income security. And so there's a bunch of factors that play into HIV rates. And it goes beyond saying, you know what, this is something that's on the individual. when it's much more of a systemic issue why Indigenous people are getting HIV.
Your year fellowship was, I should mention, through the Canadian Journalism Foundation and the Canadian Medical Association, so that's the focus. And you talked a little bit about, what your goal was and where you landed with your doc that just came out. What happens if the status quo remains and there's no action on this after you've been looking at this so deeply?
Well, the Institute of Health Economics is part of the Manitoba HIV's annual report. They say that for the cost of each diagnosis to treat it is $1.44 million per person over the course of their lifetime. I know that there are conversations that are happening behind the scenes, trying to come up with a Indigenous Manitoba First Nation strategy. I think that there are very competent healthcare professionals and Indigenous leaders that are getting, active behind the scenes. But there does need to be more testing events. There needs to be more in-person testing events. I spoke to a doctor in Saskatchewan. His name's Dr. Stuart Skinner. Their organization partners with First Nations to do self-testing or testing events, whether that's at a powwow, whether that's at a community event, whether that's at their treaty days.
So they're starting to reach out at the grassroots and really start to tackle this.
It's hard to say what's going to be happening in Manitoba, right? Like my whole goal for this project was to have our community watch this, our community see it. And we run the risk of stigmatizing our community further. And the whole goal of the project is to destigmatize these conversations. But I would like for our community and our leadership and our people that are working on the front lines to see this and say, okay, we're educated on how it happens and here's how we're going to deal with it.
Moving forward.
One of the big lines in that documentary is what happens if it's your relative, what happens if it's your brother, your niece, your cousin, your daughter that gets HIV, how are you going to deal with it? And so that's the thing that we've been telling people everywhere we go is if you feel like there's a drug crisis that's happening in your community or in your First Nation, I can guarantee you that there's a health crisis that's coming behind it. And so we do need to figure out if all of these people are using drugs, we need to figure out how do we get them properly treated.
Well, the importance is to see the documentary, as you said, and as you said, you hope your community does see it and leadership from communities, and you can see it online right now. Leonard, thank you so much for coming and telling us about it.
Thank you for inviting me into the space again.
Yeah, and
it's
thank you. Nice to see you.
Again.
Yeah, you too, Leonard. And good to see you, Vanessa. Thank you very much for being here at CBC and being part of the work. CBC producer Leonard Monkman. So he is the inaugural recipient of the Canadian Journalism, Canadian Medical Association's Indigenous Health Fellowship. Read more and watch the documentary. It's really powerful. It is on our CBC Manitoba page. You'll find links there, cbc.ca/Manitoba. And you can find links also on CBC Indigenous. So please check it out. It is coming up to news time at 8:30. And if you want to weigh in on the call-in this afternoon, remember it starts at 12:15. And host Marjorie Dahos will be in with the question of the day. Quick reminder about traffic in your flood and fire areas. You want to watch for closed highways. We did have a highway around Dauphin just reopen, but there are still a lot of closed sections. So just check 511 for the very latest on that. And be careful in the city. As you're about to hear, there's a lot of downed trees and more because of the rain and storms yesterday. So your CBC News from Manitoba is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 8:30, it's 18 degrees. Beautiful sunshine as we start the last day of June. Mix of sun and clouds this afternoon. Windy again today, and again a chance of showers, maybe even a thunderstorm. Well, waking up to damage. Last night's storm brought trees down in a number of neighborhoods across Winnipeg, but it is a street on White Ridge where the damage is most dramatic. CBC reporter Megan Ketchison is on Toll Cross Gate and joins us live. Megan?
I'm standing in front of a home where the garage is twisted and the roof is off, and it seems that the garage has been pushed towards the front door. This is from that storm last night. I was speaking to some neighbors who said that last night they thought it was just a storm. Cindy Porcher says that she was shocked when she came out this morning to see the damage.
I was absolutely astounded. I couldn't believe when I started looking around and a whole house down and roof missing on another house. Just incredible. I just hope nobody was hurt.
Now, I was talking to another neighbor who tells me, who lives just a couple of doors down from the house here where the roof is off and the garage is at an angle. He says that the fire department was here pretty quick around 10:30 last night, and he's hoping everybody got out. but you're seeing large trees that are down, and the road is just absolutely strewn with shingles from people's homes. There's another roof that's down. A couple of trees are down as well. And I have a note in the city asking if they have any information about how much damage is out there, but they're just assessing the damage through most parts of the city. Reporting live, Megan Ketchison, CBC News.
Thanks so much, Megan. And we do have calls out to Environment Canada just to see what kind of wind would result in damage like that. So we will bring you the latest as we get it through the morning. Parts of Western Manitoba were also blasted with rain. In Boissevain, Environment Canada says 152 millimeters fell. Ross McKellar watched the downpour from the campground and couldn't believe what he was seeing.
It came together and it just poured here. I'm 70 years old and I haven't seen this much rain in that short a period. We're probably looking at 2 hours at the most.
McKellar worries for farmers in their fields, along with people whose homes were flooded. Environment Canada says Deloraine took on 128 millimeters, Minto had 114, and there were some powerful winds as well. 106 kilometers an hour clocked in Morden. Now, the owner of Stead's Farm Supply Country Store in Boissevain is scrambling this morning to try out his building after heavy rain got through an overhead door. David Stead is trying to keep his supply dry.
We've got a lot of animal feed, a lot of pet feed, a lot of, we've got a lot of natural products for humans too. So that's, it's the feed mostly. When you get hot humidity like this and you've got chicken feed and stuff like that, you've got to stop it going moldy.
Now, all of this follows the crazy storms on Sunday, where a retired Rossburn couple says they're fortunate to have survived a tornado that destroyed their century-old home. That happened Sunday evening. Brian Brown was in his shop when he noticed the wind pick up and went in the house to check on his wife. They both dropped to the floor as the front windows and door blew out. The twister tore off the roof.
Hell. Shock, actually, more than anything. I couldn't believe. My wife and I retired here in 2004 with the plan of renovating this house. It took us 10 years to renovate it. We've been here for 22 years, and it took 10 seconds to do this.
Brown says family and friends are helping out. He'll be talking to his insurance agent to find out what can be salvaged. A decision from Manitoba's top court this month is raising concerns about the use of AI in court. The case involved a self-represented Brandon woman whose appeal filings, a judge said, appear to have been generated by AI gone awry. Toronto lawyer Tom McIntosh Zeng maintains an online database of similar cases across the country. He says more than 80% are self-represented, and the Manitoba case shows more needs to be done to address this issue.
The trend has not stopped. It has, in fact, accelerated. And so for the Manitoba courts, it is time to start educating folks about what the risks are.
Experts say the case highlights a larger issue with access to justice, with people who can't afford a lawyer feeling like they have no other option but to use AI. Thousands have signed a petition calling for a Brandon Elementary School principal to step down. It was launched by Lindsay Robinson after she heard about a 12-year-old boy who was bullied while on a school field trip. The boy's head was pushed into a toilet with human waste. Robinson says her own son has been bullied. She wants the division to know enough is enough.
There's 2,000 people that are calling for change. They're screaming for help. That Brandon School Division, and this is further than Brandon School Division, but Brandon School Division, our kids need help.
Robinson says Brandon School Division has invited her to join a newly formed review panel of students, teachers, parents, and division leaders. The goal is to look for gaps in anti-bullying programs and come up with new ideas. You can find the latest news updated throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right. Thank you, Heather Wells. I know you are here tomorrow, but happy Canada Day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. And let's have a last look at our morning commute with May.
check Manitoba 511 for highways. There's all sorts of closures out there. I don't have the time to get into them all right now, but here in the city, there's a tree down on Baylor Ave between Bryn Mawr and Mount Allison, and the lights at Marion and Traverse are flashing in all directions. Thanks to everyone who called the commuter line.
Thanks, May. And Mother Nature, you can stop any time. Okay, let's say thank you also to the associate producers that worked in the program. Jenica Sewell, Chloe Friesen, and Sophia Peralta-Barone. Reporters Caitlin Gowerluck and Leonard Monkman, producer. As well from our news department, Alana Cole, Megan Ketchison, Darren Bernhardt, and Heather Wells. Show crew Darren Marash, May McKillop, and Abby Adiemi, who's going to take it away.
Yeah, the rain continues towards the west, and we're seeing smoke in the northern part of the province. Most regions heading to 25 today.
All right, and thanks to Corey Funk and Nellie Gonzalez for producing. Tomorrow, Corey and I are live at the Forks. Maybe we'll see you there.